Welcome to the 2020 debates. Tonight, it's Joe Biden versus Joe Biden.
Would there be any place for fossil fuels, including coal and fracking, in a Biden administration?
No, we would work it out. We would make sure it's eliminated.
I am not banning fracking.
No new fracking.
Do we need a national mask mandate?
I think we do.
Let's institute a mask mandate nationwide.
There's a constitutional issue whether the federal government could issue such a mandate. I don't think constitutionally they could, so I wouldn't issue a mandate. Come on, man. You can't mandate that.
Can we agree that we can redirect some of the funding?
Yes, absolutely.
No, I don't support defunding the police.
Come on, man. They become the enemy. They're supposed to be protecting these people.
Well, there you have it, folks. We have one clear loser tonight, and that's Joe Biden.
Hey everyone, how you doing? Welcome to Everything Spicy News. It looks great, doesn't it? It's nice and professional. A little white board with some black Sharpie on it. But at some point, we will get something we can permanently put up there when we're doing the news channel. So, thank you everyone that's here. Understand what channel you're at right now. Understand this is Everything Spicy News. Political opinions are allowed on here. Political opinions on both sides. Okay. This is not my normal Everything Spicy. It's going to feel like that, but it is going to where I try to keep, as much as I try to keep the political stuff for the most part off the other channel. That is what this is going to be about. This is going to be about political. It's going to be about what's going on. You know, I figured I'd come on here half an hour before this started. We would bring some people up on the panel. We bring up on the screen what's going on debate, and then if anybody wants to stick around after, we talk about the after debate. Now, see, here's Eric Pollock, and I just want to just do tincture because that's what I do when Eric Pollock pops into the room. But that's not this channel. It could be, but all right. Let's say hi to some people since with it is kind of proper to say hi to your guests when they come in here. What's up, Groovy Lava Squirrel Medic? How you doing, man? Good to see you, Donald Morris. It's going to be a little late, looks like, but we'll be happy when you get here, Donald. Good to see you, man. Oh, let's scroll down a little bit further. Aiden Air is here. At least he was here. How you doing? Killdeer is here, and he's down in the basement. Good to see you, Killdeer Survival. Kimberly Ferris is in the house. How you doing, Kimberly Ferris? Very good to see you, my dear. Oh, Jadzia Dax is here. How you doing, Jadzia Dax? Eric Pollock. Well, what the hell, Why not? Why not? Eric Pollock's here. What the hell? We're still spicy, right? We just, all right. Guys, if you'd share this out for me, that would be awesome, because not everybody that comes here every night, the 30, 40 people we have that come on a regular basis, maybe are subscribed to this. So make sure you let them know. Make sure you let people know that we're here. So Aiden here, there he is. There's Cindy from the Hunt for Heat. Here she is, Steam, Fire, and Ice. Good to see you. Neighbor girl Bradshaw is here. Good to see you, neighbor girl. How you doing? Good to see you're here supporting this channel for me too. I appreciate it. It looks like we have shouted out everyone is here. We got 12 folks in the house, which again is going to be smaller because this is a smaller channel, smaller group. But I was hoping, once we get things up on the screen, if people happen to pop in, they might stick around and see what's going on the screen. So I do want to say I do have a couple people in the basement that are going to join me. We may talk about things. We may not talk about things. We may just sit and watch things. A lot of different things that we can do. Obviously, as you can see, Killdeer's got to help me in the and first thing we can do is we can start giving people moderators so people can actually do something. If I haven't hit you as a moderator yet, it's only because I haven't seen you comment yet as Gray. So some people I just modded. So if you comment again and you're not gray and you're not blue, I will moderate you. Most everyone in here, people I know, so we'll get you modded up. Let's say hi to people who, well, come on, Killdeer, I modded you. Add moderator. This is now a moderator. Okay. There's Granny. Moderator. Okay. Well, I don't know why it's not still gray. It's saying Lava Squirrel Medic is now a moderator for your channel. We're going through we're going through the growing pains. So if everybody just hang on with me, I'd appreciate it. It's just now a moderator. But no one's coming back. Keep commenting, folks, because no one's coming back as blue. No one yet, anyways. Let's bring Granny and Killdeer up on the screen. What's up, guys?
Hey, are you saying still?
Well, all I do is I click on it on my phone, and it says, "Get her done, Granny is moderator 4." So I'm not doing it on the computer.
Ah.
But I'm doing it on my phone, and I moderate people on my phone all the time.
Hey, Sty.
Hi, guys.
Hey, Sty. How's it going?
What's up, Sty? How you doing, man?
Doing good.
Cool.
Doing good.
Great.
Well, that's not working. Well, that just sucks. If you're new to this channel and you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. We got 46 subscribers to the channel. So if any of you 12 folks that are in here aren't subscribed, I greatly appreciate it.
You may have to do it from your computer.
Yeah, I don't know that I can because I'm on StreamYard. I then have to go over here. Oh, what are they doing here?
Gee.
Ooh, hold on a second.
What?
Yeah, I noticed nobody's blue. You have no mods here.
Yeah, I know.
He's trying to fix that.
All right, time to raise hell. There ain't no mods in the house.
Right.
Raise hell while you can. It ain't gonna last.
Sorry about that. All right.
Hi, everybody out there. Hello.
Hey, Donald.
Morris, neighbor girl, all of you, Eric. Hey, great to see y'all. Steam Fire and Ice, good to see you.
Good to see you, Cindy.
Phil sucks eggs.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Steam Fire and Ice, good to see you.
All right, let's try this. Good to see you, Cindy. Let's that. Let's try that. Now we're trying to mod on the computer. So let's see if this works.
That should let you without a problem.
Anybody see any blue yet?
Not yet.
Keep commenting, folks. I'm gonna go Granny this time. Anybody blue yet? It's weird. I'm not seeing any blue on my phone.
Me neither.
And I'm doing the same thing on the computer, saying add moderator, Killdeer down moderator for your channel. And yeah, for some reason it's not letting me, folks. So I do apologize. It's not obviously, I'm trying to. So we'll have to figure that out at a later date. So all right. Let's go back to here. Oops. Well, I completely got out where I was. I'm back. All right, I'm back. I'm back to stream. We got 14 people now. Good to see everyone, man. Eric's got my nose running. All right, it's troll night. There you go. Right? It'd be a bad night to have a bunch of stinking trolls.
I thought it was supposed to be Tinkster Tuesday.
Something like that, right?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to go back to where I was. See if I can't find the stream I was using. I think this is where I was. Just got to end the ad. There we go. All right. So before we get that, pop that up on the screen. We still got 20 minutes before things start. I did go over a couple of different channels to try to get an idea of what topics they were going to be talking about. And it looks like there's 6 topics that are that was pretty unanimous through a couple different websites. Obviously, first one is our pandemic, COVID-19. I know a lot of us got a lot of different opinions on that. Some of it we think is being used politically. Some of it, not political. A lot of it they think it's not political, but I know that's something they're going to be going over in the debate today. Of course, the state of our economy. Democrats would like to think that it's not been so good. Would like to point out, what happened during COVID. Of course, Trump, one of our best economies we had over the last 3 years as far as the number of people employed and things. He's going to go over that and how, we've recovered from the bad economy from our pandemic. I'm sure they're going to cover that as well. The Supreme Court. Luckily for the Republicans, if they want to push through the Supreme Court nominee, they have the Senate. Doesn't happen very often that this something like this happens, and you've got the Senate. A lot of people saying, when Obama was trying to push one through before Trump became president, the Republicans kept him out. Well, you know what? Had we had a Democratic Senate, we would have had a Supreme Court nominee go through during that period of time. A lot of what I hear nowadays is, hey, you know what? If you want your people in the office, control the presidency and control the Senate. When you don't control that, when you don't get the votes, when your people aren't voted in, you don't get the opportunity to rule the way you'd like to. One of the other things, obviously, they're going to talk about, it's going to be a key issue, I think, with a lot of people that are like in the middle, is going to be race and violence in our American cities. I know there's a lot of people out in California, a lot of people out there that don't know the violence that's going on or are unaware of the violence that's going on. And that's going to be one of their topics tonight, or one of their talking points tonight, is race and violence. Obviously, of course, they're going to go over records. Trump and Biden's records as far as what they've done for America. One gentleman's got 47 years of being a politician. Had 47 years to show what he can do and why he should be the next president of our United States. And the other guy's been in the office for almost 4 years now, and he's going to tell you why he should stay president of the United States for what he's done for the last 4 years. And then the last thing is the integrity of the election. I think when they say integrity of the election, I think they're talking about, are we going to get real votes? Yeah, are we going to get a free and fair election? Are we going to get, are there going to be absentee ballots thrown away? Are there going to be, there's going to be some. I doubt that you're going to have all these states, all these little polling places, all these different ways that people can do ballots. And you're not going to have zero fraud, right? You're going to have some fraud. It's going to happen. But is it going to be at a level where it severely affects the outcome one way or another? Because I'll be honest with you, I'm sure there are people out there that want to make sure that Trump wins. And there are people out there that want to make sure that Biden wins. So there's good. I think, my personal opinion, not that Trump will have anything to do with it, not that Biden will have anything to do with it, but I think there'll be some fraud on both sides. Maybe not directly by the presidential candidates, but by people like you and me that are running the polls, that are doing the things. Some people are really radical. We see that, I don't know if you've seen a recent video. There's a lady in her neighborhood riding around on a bicycle with a little thing, and she's putting dog poop in people's mailboxes that have Trump signs in their front yard.
Oh, God.
What's up, Melissa Spencer? How you doing? I want to make sure I'm saying hi to folks, too.
What I don't like is lately they're talking now that really the whole mail-in ballot issue the fraud part of it, the delayed counting. Now in the state of Wisconsin, they legislated that they're going to be allowed to count the votes 6 days after the election. So you won't even have Wisconsin results for a week.
Right.
But it was taken to the U.S. Supreme Court. Supreme Court said, can't do it. You cannot extend the election. That's extending the election. That only Congress can do that. That state legislatures cannot extend a federal election. So Wisconsin's going, that didn't work.
Nope.
And what I don't like is Pelosi saying now the issue is all we need it to be is a controversy that drags out till January 3rd, and then I act as president until we reelect. Now that's out there, and she said it herself. I listened to her this morning, and my jaw almost fell off, because that is constitutional. If they cannot determine the winner by inauguration, guess what? The Speaker of the House acts as president.
That's scary.
That is scary.
Now, why aren't they telling the public that? And I sat here with my Constitution open, read through the damn thing as I listened to her and watched, and I'm going, geez, that is so scary. They're saying the odds of it actually being successful and it getting to that point is about 20%. That it's never happened in the history of our nation.
Right.
But it was put in there just in case if you had a president and a vice president passed away together, let's say, who becomes president. It's not the runner-up, the person he was running against. It's the Speaker of the House.
We'll sit here and keep my mouth shut.
Well, what kills me too is,
Can Nancy fall off the bridge she lives under?
Right.
I love that.
That rule put in place before they started letting senile, crazy old women keep on going into something like that.
Well, I mean, for crying out loud, our House of Representatives is starting to look like the old folks' home. There's a lot of very sharp old folks out there.
Yep.
But the percentage is kind of against them. There's some that are really, really smart, and the word "some" is what I mean. There's only some,
and they're so set in their ways that they cannot see past anything that's in their head. It's like nothing is.
And they're very susceptible to be led by younger pressure.
Yeah, I've been paid to think this way.
Yeah. Or these younger congressmen and congresswomen promise me that I'll get to keep my office if I do what they tell me to.
Right.
And that's where term limits for Congress, I'd be all for it. I think an 8 to 12 year term, you got to have a minimum 8 years, but 8 to 12 year term limit, and you turn these people over, for God's sakes. They don't need to be there for 47 years.
That's ridiculous. We've been there for 47 years. It's ridiculous how long Nancy Pelosi has been there. These people need to, you go in, you get a term limit. If you don't get what you want to get done in that period of time, you should be out. If you want to go to another branch, if you want to go from being a senator to something else and represent your country in a different way, I'm all for it. These people want to stay in government and in politics and do these different things, by all means, but they don't stay in that same position.
Oh yeah, lava squirrel. When they're saying the military is supporting Biden, the thing is they got to look at who in the military is supporting Biden, or they're speaking out. Who are those individuals? And take a look at who they are. All of them have been. Their division, their role in the military was funded by the Democratic Party. They're the big money boys in the military. It's not It's not your, I mean, we're not talking grunts here. We're talking about top brass that have career positions in the military, and they depend on military contracts for their role in the military. Otherwise, they're asked to retire early. We don't need you anymore. If those military contracts aren't there, they don't need them anymore. And Trump, he's pounding money into the military, but he's not pounding it into the places where those top brass feel secure in their positions.
Right.
He's putting it in with the states that have those military bases and or manufacturers are going, yes, look at all the revenue coming into our state. And Trump's doing that because he knows that his constituents in those states want those military jobs. They, you spend money on the military, it rolls into the common guy here that's doing the manufacturing and providing the civilian services to the military. So yeah. I don't know how anybody else feels, but I don't like Chris Wallace.
No, he's biased.
He's a CNN reporter that works for Fox, and you just never know where he'll go. Is my problem. Sometimes he'll stay on the straight and narrow. He'll hit both of them both equally. Other times he'll stray and he'll lean. He'll start leaning, and I'm not quite sure.
Well, I didn't see what he had done the first time, but someone made mention to me that he questioned Trump before, and he was kind of rude to Trump. So that we may have someone that Of course, you keep hearing that Biden knows what the questions are already and things like that. You get all sorts of rumors and stuff. So
yeah,
you never know. You never know what you're going to find out. Let's see what's down in the basement, shall we? Here
we got something in the basement.
Let's see here. We're gonna do the share screen. Thought I had it already done, but that's okay. Oh, apparently it's not okay. Let's see here.
Oh, do we have to go down in the basement?
No.
Come on, everybody, let's head to the basement.
All right.
There we go.
Yeah, Donald Morris, that's the way I feel about Chris too, is that he's annoying.
There we go.
There you go.
At this point, it looks like they're getting ready.
All the intro stuff.
See, here's where I have a problem, Sty, and maybe you can help me with this. When I click on this, in order to click on the window to make it bigger, it makes my entire screen bigger, so I can't come back to StreamYard.
Oh.
See, I do
enlarge it on YouTube itself. There you go.
Yeah, but now I don't see, it's the entire size of my screen now, and I can't see me or you guys.
Oh, on your screen.
I'm on my computer screen right here, right now. I can see it on my phone.
On our side, it's the four of us on the left and that big picture in the middle. Yeah. It looks good on our side, but if it covers everything on yours, that's a bummer.
Yeah.
You should be a guest.
That was like in the very beginning. That was like in the very beginning. I could see it here on StreamYard, but I couldn't hear it. But I could hear it off my phone for a second.
Yeah. So they got nothing going on at the moment. So I'm still trying this thing on my phone with add moderator, but it doesn't seem like that's because even when I go back to that same person and click on add moderator, it says adding moderator. It doesn't say unmoderate them. So I don't know what's going on there. So.
Huh.
Kind of a weird situation.
Yeah.
So I don't know who this guy is and who this lady is. Maybe I should. I don't know. I am going to minimize that for a minute so I can see everybody. See how. Whoa.
You're still up.
There we go. Nope. I got a big white screen. See, here's where I'm gonna stumble and fall.
Boom.
Oh, there I lost the whole thing.
You're back.
We'll get it, man. We will get it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Hey, Groovy Lava's a mod. Now they're starting to come
All right,
in.
so something there.
Yeah, I'm starting to see mods. Yep.
I'm not. There I am.
Oh.
Blue now.
Yeah, I don't know what was making it do that. There's Granny. Make sure moderator.
Holy smoking blue.
Let's get that.
Look at all the blues.
Hey, look at there. Blue.
I'm not blue.
Did you comment in there, old man?
No.
Oh, okay.
But my name didn't turn out blue either.
Well, you got I gotta be able to see it on the damn phone to moderate you, old man.
Gotta hit neighbor girl. 8 years, blue.
Oop, oop.
Oh, what is going on?
Cindy.
Yeah, see, I'm not blue.
There you are.
I can time style out.
You can. Then what happened? Wasn't neighbor girl Bradshaw blue a minute ago?
No.
This is fine.
No, not yet.
Well, I just clicked on her, so
I'm still not blue.
We got 14 people. Thank you guys for being here. Sty, I did make you moderator. Maybe there's a delay in it. Maybe I don't know.
I'm not blue.
What you been reading, Sty?
Nope. It's now for some reason I'm
so damn happy I just can't be blue tonight. That's kind of cool though, not being blue. I could get my ass bumped out of here so easy. That ain't fair, man.
I gotta let the dog back in.
I'm not blue, so I can't say nothing controversial. I agree with everybody. I don't care which side you're on. You're all good. You're all, yeah, everything's fine. Yep.
Uh-oh.
Ask me any question. Just make sure to give me the answer first.
Watch us all go blue and then go gray again, where he's been trying to do it so many times.
Right?
It'll be funnier than hell if he finally gets me to turn blue and then you all turn gray.
Oh, no.
Oh, I'm blue. I'm blue.
Let's not pick on style,
Well,
y'all.
there's Chris Wallace, and my computer's not muted.
Don't
there's
you
no
have
volume.
Don't you have to share the volume?
Yeah.
I think I did.
Oh.
Yeah.
Let's try this again. Let's try this again.
Well, don't get
Gotta make
tested.
sure to share the volume.
Don't get testy. I'll test you. All right, so not that feed.
I just turned the volume on that.
Yeah.
On YouTube, and my volume's on the stream for the debate, and there's no sound.
Okay, so they're just testing it right now, so they got no sound.
It's all foxed up.
Well, they may not be at this point. They may not be. We'll see.
I think they are broadcasting. It's Fox screwing up their audio again. Fox does that at times. They'll get the audio screwed up.
So I am looking forward to this. I mean, when the presidents do talk, obviously I want to try to keep the our conversation to a minimum.
Yeah.
You know, a quick whip here and there, if something's funny. Obviously, I understand, but that I'm sure there are people that are coming here too that are going to want to. The neighbor girl, they want to listen to this too. So, neighbor girl Bradshaw, you're gray, but yet when I click on your name, it says remove moderator. So you must be blue at some point in here. Stye
it
North.
took forever for me.
All right. So it just takes it a while to update because even Stye North, when I press on your gray name, it says click on there to remove moderator. So we don't want to do that. So, there's Junior. Holy mackerel. 41 comments.
Fox, you're screwing it up. Fox.
Oh, there's a low volume. Now the question is, will I be able to get enough volume where you guys can hear it? And who is making that racket? Is it you, Killed, or is that your wife in the background making a racket?
Well, dog might be eating.
Oh, okay. Well, okay, there you go. Oh, it's Melania.
She's up front so she can run up there and knock Biden on his ass if he smarts off about her kids.
Right?
Yeah. I tell you what, I'd rather have Trump coming after me than her if you get on her bad side about her kids.
Mm-hmm.
Especially her boy. I tell you, yeah. Say something bad about him. She'll whoop your ass out back. All is said and done. I had to laugh the other day. Somebody said, yeah, we need Arnie Schwarzenegger and Melania Trump to run for the presidency and vice presidency. that now you're going to see a constitutional argument. Sorry, you got to be a naturalized citizen. Had to be born here.
And we may not be on Fox News when it comes to there's a Donald Trump YouTube channel that I might wind up using, but right now it's showing nothing on there. So
I
don't know. It depends on what's going to give me the best volume and the best feed for everyone that's here. So
yeah.
Neighbor Girl Bradshaw, I agree with you. She says, I hope the young people in our country pay attention to make their vote count. I hope that they actually take some time to look at both sides. I think that's the biggest problem with our young people is social media has got them looking, for the most part, at one side. A lot of the people they admire, whether it be gamers or celebrities or sports people, they admire these people that have a certain opinion or, are pressured to be a certain way. So I hope that they take the time to really educate themselves
and look
on
at
the
all
issues and look what's going on,
Yeah.
Unfortunately, many of them aren't. So
one thing for me that's kind of heartbreaking is that, okay, I've got 3 family members that are educators. I've got a couple of friends that are teachers, educators. All of them told me the same thing, that nationally right now it's less than 20% and more than 15. It's right between 15 and 20% of our schools nationwide that teach civics. Civics is no longer a mandated course of study in school.
are we going to get any volume here from Chris Wallace? I'm not hearing anything.
Good evening.
Oh, there you go.
Health Education Campus of Cleveland University and the Cleveland Clinic.
You're not getting echo from me, are you?
Welcome you
Nope.
to the first of the 2020 presidential debates between President Donald J. Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden. This debate is sponsored by the Commission on Presidential Debates. The commission has designed the format, 6 roughly 15-minute segments with 2-minute answers from each candidate to the first question, then open discussion for the rest of each segment. Both campaigns have agreed to these rules. For the record, I decided the topics and the questions in each topic. I can assure you, none of the questions has been shared with the commission or the two candidates. This debate is being conducted under health and safety protocols designed by the Cleveland Clinic, which is serving as the health security advisor to the commission for all four debates. As a precaution, both campaigns have agreed the candidates will not shake hands at the beginning of tonight's debate. The audience here in the hall has promised to remain silent. No cheers, no boos, and other interruptions, so we, and more importantly you, can focus on what the candidates have to say. No noise except right now, as we welcome the Republican nominee, President Trump, and the Democratic nominee, Vice President Biden.
Oh, well, I can't do that. All right.
Gentlemen, a lot of people have been waiting for this night, so let's get going. Our first subject is the Supreme Court. President Trump, you nominated Amy Coney Barrett over the weekend to succeed the late Ruth Bader Ginsburg on the court. You say the Constitution is clear about your obligation and the Senate's to consider a nominee to the court. Vice President Biden, you say that this is an effort by the president and Republicans to jam through an appointment and what you call an abuse of power. My first question to both of you tonight, why are you right in the argument you make and your opponent wrong? And where do you think a Justice Barrett would take the court? President Trump, in this first segment, you go first, 2 minutes.
I will tell you very simply, we won the election. Elections have consequences. We have the Senate, we have the White House, and we have a phenomenal nominee, respected by all, top academic, good in every way. In fact, some of her biggest endorsers are very liberal people from Notre Dame and other places. So I think she's going to be fantastic. We have plenty of time, even if we did it after the election itself. I have a lot of time after the election, as you know. So I think that she will be outstanding. She's going to be as good as anybody that has served on that court. We really feel that. We have a professor at Notre Dame, highly respected by all, said she's the single greatest student he's ever had. He's been a professor for a long time at a great school. And we won the election, and therefore we have the right to choose her. And very few people knowingly would say otherwise. And by the way, the Democrats, they wouldn't even think about not doing it. If they had, the only difference is they try and do it faster. There's no way they would give it up. They had Merrick Garland, but the problem is they didn't have the election. So they were stopped. And probably that would happen in reverse also. Definitely would happen in reverse. So we won the election, and we have the right to do it, Chris.
President Trump, thank you. Same question to you, Vice President Biden. You have 2 minutes.
First of all, thank you for doing this and look forward to this, Mr. President. The American people have a right to have a say who the Supreme Court nominee is. And that say occurs when they vote for a United States senators and when they vote for the President of the United States. They're not going to get that chance now because we're in the middle of an election already. The election has already started. Tens of thousands of people have already voted. And so the thing that should happen is we should wait. We should wait and see what the outcome of this election is, because that's the only way the American people get to express their view is by who they elect as president, who they elect as vice president. Now, what's at stake here is the president's made it clear he wants to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. He's been running on that, he ran on that, and he's been governing on that. He's in the Supreme Court right now trying to get rid of the Affordable Care Act, which will strip 20 million people from having insurance, health insurance now, if it goes into court. And the justice, and I have nothing, I'm not opposed to the justice. She seems like a very fine person. But she's written before she went to the bench, which is her right, that she thinks that the Affordable Care Act is not constitutional. The other thing that's on the court, and if it's struck down, what happens? Women's rights are fundamentally changed. Once again, a woman could be held to pay more money because she has a pre-existing condition of pregnancy. They were able to charge a woman more for the same exact procedure a man did. Yes. And that ended when we, in fact, passed the Affordable Care Act. And there's 100 million people who have pre-existing conditions, and they'll be taken away as well. Those pre-existing conditions, insurance companies are going to love this. And so it's just not appropriate to do this before this election. If he wins the election and the Senate is Democrat or Republican, then he goes forward. If not, we should wait until February.
There aren't 100 million people with pre-existing conditions. As far as the say is concerned, the people already had their say. Okay, Justice Ginsburg said very powerfully, very strongly, at some point, 10 years ago or so, she said a president and the Senate is elected for a period of time, but a president's elected for 4 years. We're not elected for 3 years. I'm not elected for 3 years. So we have the Senate, we have a president.
It's elected to the next
during
election.
that period of time, we have an opening. I'm not elected for 3 years. I'm elected for 4 years. And the 100 million people, Joe, the 100 million people is totally wrong. I don't know where you got that number. The bigger problem that you have is that you're going to extinguish 180 million people with their private health care that they're very
That's
happy
simply
with.
not true.
Well, you're going to socialist.
Go
You're
ahead.
going to
This
socialist.
is, we're now into, gentlemen, we're now into open discussion.
Open discussion.
Open discussion. Yes, I agree. Go ahead, Vice President.
Number one, he knows that what I proposed. What I proposed is that we expand Obamacare and we increase it. We do not wipe any. And one of the big debates we had with 23 of my colleagues trying to win the nomination that I won were saying that Biden wanted to allow people to have private insurance still. They can. They do. They will under my proposal.
Not what you said,
But
and it's not what
that
your party has said.
That is simply
Your party
a lie.
doesn't say it. Your party
That is
wants to
simple.
go socialist
My
medicine
party is
and
me.
socialist
Right
healthcare.
now, I am
And
the
they're going to
Democratic
dominate
Party.
you, Joe. You know that.
I am the Democratic Party right now. The platform of the
Not according
Democratic
to
Party
Harris.
is what I, in fact, approved of. What I approved of. Now, here's the deal. The deal is that it's going to wipe out pre-existing conditions. And by the way, the 200,000 people that died on his watch, how many of those have survived? Well, there's 7 million people that contracted COVID. What does it mean for them going forward if you strike down the Affordable Care Act?
Joe, you've had 308,000 military people die because you couldn't provide them proper health care in the military. So don't tell me
I'm
about
happy
this.
to talk about
And
this.
if you were here,
Look,
it
here's
wouldn't
the
be
deal.
200, it would be 2 million people because you were very late on the draw. You
Late
didn't
on
want
the
me to
draw.
ban China, which was heavily infected. You didn't want me to ban
All right, gentlemen,
Europe, which was heavily
Mr.
infected.
President,
You would have been much later, Joe.
Mr. President,
Much later.
Mr.
You're
President,
talking about 2 million people.
You're
Mr.
not
President,
able to
as a
shut him.
moderator, we are going to talk about COVID in the next segment, but go
Well,
ahead.
Let me finish. The point is that the president also is opposed to Roe v. Wade. That's on the ballot as well in the court. And so that's also at stake right now. And so the election is all
You don't know it's on the ballot. Why is it on the ballot?
Because
Why is it
you
on the
said
ballot? It's not on the ballot.
it's on the ballot in the
I don't
court.
think so.
In the court. Well,
There's nothing happening there.
Donald, would
And you
just
don't
be quiet
know
for a minute?
her view on Roe v. Wade. You
I
don't
don't
know her
know.
view.
Well, all right, let's talk. We got a lot to unpack here, gentlemen. We got a lot of time. So on healthcare, and then we'll come back to Roe v. Wade.
All right.
Mr. President, the Supreme Court will hear a case a week after the election in which the Trump administration, along with 18 state attorneys general, are seeking to overturn
That's right.
Obamacare, to end Obamacare. You have spent the last...
Because they want to give good health care.
If I may ask that question, sir. Over the last 4 years, you have promised to repeal and replace Obamacare, but you have never in these 4 years come up with a plan, a comprehensive plan
Yes, I
to
have.
replace Obamacare.
Of course I have.
Well,
I got rid of the individual mandate.
I'm going to give you an
Excuse me.
opportunity.
I got rid of the individual mandate, which was a
That is
big
not a
chunk of Obamacare.
comprehensive
That
plan.
is absolutely a big thing. That was
That-
the worst
I
part of
didn't ask,
Obamacare.
Sir,
Chris,
you're
that was the
debating him,
worst
not
part of
me.
Obamacare.
Let me ask my question.
Well, I'll ask Joe. The individual
I-
mandate was the most unpopular
Mr. Vice Pre-
aspect of
Mr.
Obamacare. I
President,
got rid of it.
I'd like
And
to
we will
Mr.
protect people
President,
with
I'm the
pre-existing
moderator of this
conditions.
debate, and I would like you to let me ask my question, and then you can answer.
Go ahead.
You, in the course of these 4 years, have never come up with a comprehensive plan to replace Obamacare. And just this last Thursday, you signed a largely symbolic executive order to protect people with pre-existing conditions 5 days before this debate. So my question, sir, is what is the Trump healthcare plan?
Well, first of all, I guess I'm debating you, not him, but that's okay. I'm not surprised. Let me just tell you something. There's nothing symbolic. I'm cutting drug prices. I'm going with favored nations, which no president has the courage to do because you're going against big pharma. Drug prices will be coming down 80 or 90%. You could have done it during your 47-year period in government, but you didn't do it. Nobody's done it. So we're cutting health care. All of the things that we've done, insulin, I give you an example, insulin, it was destroying families, destroying people because I'm getting it for so cheap. It's like water, you want to know the truth, so cheap. Take a look at all of the drugs what we're doing, prescription drug prices. We're going to allow our governors now to go to other countries to buy drugs because they pay just a tiny fraction.
As I say, this is open discussion.
No, but this is big stuff.
Sir, you'll be happy. I'm about to pick up on one of your points to ask the vice president, which is he points out that you would like to add a public option to Obamacare. And
Yes.
the argument that he makes and other Republicans make is that that is going to end private insurance.
It is
and
not.
well, I can ask you the question. It will
Not what your
end.
party says, by the way.
It will end private insurance and create a government takeover of health care.
It does not. It's only for those people who are so poor they qualify for Medicaid. They can get that free in most states, except governors who want to deny people who are poor Medicaid. Anyone who qualifies for Medicare would, Medicaid would automatically be enrolled in the public option. The vast majority of the American people would still not be in that option. Number one.
Joe, you agree with Bernie Sanders, who's far left, on the manifesto, we call it. And that gives you socialized medicine.
Look, hey,
Are you saying
I'm
you
not going
didn't
to
agree?
listen to him. The fact of the matter is, I beat Bernie Sanders.
Not by much.
I beat him a whole hell of a lot. I'm here standing facing you.
Pocahontas would have left 2 days early. You would have lost every primary.
All he knows how to
on
do
Super
is
Tuesday. You got
Look,
very lucky.
here's the deal. I got very lucky. I'm going to get very lucky tonight as well. And tonight I'm going to
With
make
what?
sure because here's the deal. Here's the deal. The fact is that everything he's saying so far is simply a lie. I'm not here to call out his lies. Everybody knows he's a liar.
But you
I just
agree.
want to make sure.
Joe, you're the liar.
I want to make
You
sure.
graduated last in your class, not first in your class.
I want to make
Mr.
sure.
President, can you let him finish, sir?
He doesn't know how to do that. He has,
You'd be
you know,
surprised.
you pick
You'd be surprised.
the wrong guy, the wrong night at the wrong time.
Listen, you agreed with
Here's the
Bernie
deal.
Sanders to the
The
manifesto.
whole idea.
Let him.
There is no manifesto. Number
Please let
one.
him speak, Mr.
Number two.
You just lost the left.
Number two.
You just lost the left. You agreed with Bernie Sanders on a plan.
Folks,
Absolutely
folks,
agreed
do you
to.
have any
And under that
idea
plan,
what
you have
this clown's
socialized, they
doing?
call it
Mr.
Do you
Medicare.
have any
President.
Socialized medicine.
Mr.
Well,
President.
I'll tell you what, he is not for any help for people needing health care because he in fact already has cost 10 million people their health care that they had from their employers because of his recession. Number one. Number two, there are 20 million people getting health care through Obamacare now that he wants to take it away. He won't ever look you in the eye and say that's what he wants to do. Take it away.
No, I want to give
Number
them better
three.
health care at a much lower price
But,
because
and by the way, he
Obamacare
doesn't
is
know
no
how.
good.
He doesn't know how
I've
to do
already
that.
fixed it.
He has never
I've
offered
already
a
fixed
plan.
it to an extent.
He has never
Obamacare,
done a
as you
single
might
thing.
know, but probably don't.
Gentlemen, you
is
realize
no
if you're
good,
both
Joe.
speaking at the
It's
same
no good,
time,
and it's too expensive.
let the president go ahead, sir.
Obamacare is no good. We made it better. And I had a choice to make very early on. We took away the individual mandate. We guaranteed pre-existing conditions, but took away the individual mandate. And that destroyed that. They shouldn't even call it Obamacare. Then I had a choice to make. Do I let my people run it really well or badly? If I run it badly, they'll probably blame him, but they'll blame me. But more importantly, I want to help people. Okay. I said, you got to run it so well. And I just had a meeting with them. They said, the problem is no matter how well you run Obamacare, it's a disaster. It's too expensive.
Right.
Premiums are too high. And it doesn't work.
That's
So
what his people
we
say.
do want to get rid of it.
It's
Chris,
an
we
open-
want to get rid of it.
I
and
understand
give
it, sir,
something
but I have
cheaper
to
and
give
better.
you roughly equal time.
Good.
Please let the vice president talk.
Good.
He has no plan for health care.
Please.
He sends out wishful thinking. He has executive orders that have no power. He hasn't lowered drug costs for anybody. He's been promising a health care plan since he got elected. He has none, like almost everything else he talks about. He does not have a plan. He doesn't have a plan. And the fact is, this man doesn't know what he's talking about.
All right, I have one final question for you,
Sure.
Mr. Vice President. If Senate Republicans, we were talking originally about the Supreme Court here, if Senate Republicans go ahead and confirm Justice Barrett, there has been talk about ending the filibuster or even packing the court, adding to the 9 justices there. You call this a distraction by the president, but in fact, it wasn't brought up by the president. It was brought up by some of your Democratic colleagues in the Congress. So my question to you is, you have refused in the past to talk about it. Are you willing to tell the American people tonight whether or not you will support either ending the filibuster or packing the court?
Whatever position I take on that, that'll become the issue. The issue is the American people should speak. You should go out and vote. You're in voting now. Vote and let your senators know how strongly you feel. Vote now. Make sure you, in fact, let people know you're senators. I'm not going to answer the question.
Why would you answer that
because
question?
the question is,
radical left.
Will you shut up, man?
Listen, who is on your list, Joe?
Who's on your list?
Gentlemen, I think
this is so
unprecedented.
We have ended this segment. We're going to move on to the second segment.
That was really a productive segment, wasn't it? Keep yapping, man.
The people understand, Joe.
They
47 years, you've done nothing. They understand.
All right. The second subject is COVID-19, which is an awfully serious subject. So let's try to be serious about it. We have had more than 7 million cases of coronavirus in the United States, and more than 200,000 people have died. Even after we produce a vaccine, experts say that it could be months or even years before we come back to anything approaching normal. My question for both of you is, based on what you have said and done so far and what you have said you would do starting in 2021, why should the American people trust you more than your opponent to deal with this public health crisis going forward? In this case, the question goes to you first, sir. 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Good luck. 200,000 dead. As you said, over 7 million infected in the United States. We, in fact, have 4% of the world's population, 20% of the deaths. 40,000 people a day are contracting COVID. In addition to that, about between 750 and 1,000 people a day are dying. When he was presented with that number, he said, it is what it is. Well, it is what it is because you are who you are. That's why it is. The president has no plan. He hasn't laid out anything. He knew all the way back in February how serious this crisis was. He knew it was a deadly disease. What did he do? He's on tape as acknowledging he knew it. He said he didn't tell us or give people a warning of it because he didn't want to panic the American people. You don't panic. He panicked. In addition to that, what did he do? He went in and we were insisting that the Chinese, the people we had on the ground in China should be able to go to Wuhan and determine for themselves how dangerous this was. He did not even ask Xi to do that. He told us what a great job Xi was doing. He said we owe him a debt of gratitude for being so transparent with us. And what did he do then? He then did nothing. He waited and waited and waited. He still doesn't have a plan. I laid out back in March exactly what we should be doing. And I laid out again in July what we should be doing. We should be providing all the protective gear possible. We should be providing the money the House has passed in order to be able to go out and get people the help they need to keep their businesses open schools. It costs a lot of money. You should get out of your bunker and get out of the sand trap and get in your golf course and go in the Oval Office and bring together the Democrats and Republicans and fund what needs to be done now to save lives.
So if we would have listened to you.
You have 2 minutes, sir.
If we would have listened to you, the country would have been left wide open. Millions of people would have died, not 200,000. And one person is too much. It's China's fault. It should have never happened. They stopped it from going in, but it was China's fault. And by the way, when you talk about numbers, you don't know how many people died in China. You don't know how many people died in Russia. You don't know how many people died in India. They don't exactly give you a straight count, just so you understand. But if you look at what we've done, I closed it and you said he's xenophobic. He's a racist and he's xenophobic because you didn't think I should have closed our country. Wait a minute.
Just 2 minutes.
You didn't think we should have closed our country because you thought it was terrible. You wouldn't have closed it for another 2 months. By my doing it early, in fact, Dr. Fauci said President Trump saved thousands of lives. Many of you Democrat governors said President Trump did a phenomenal job. We worked with the governor. Oh, really? Go take a look. The governors said I did a phenomenal job. Most of them said that. In fact, people that would not be necessarily on my side said that. President Trump did a phenomenal job. We did. We got the gowns. We got the masks. We made the ventilators. You wouldn't have made ventilators. And now we're weeks away from a vaccine. We're doing therapeutics already. Fewer people are dying when they get sick. Far fewer people are dying. We've done a great job. The only thing I haven't done a good job, and that's because of the fake news. No matter what you say to them, they give you bad press on it. It's just fake news. They give you good press. They give me bad press because that's the way it is, unfortunately. But let me just tell you something. I don't care. I've gotten used to it. But I'll tell you, Joe, you could never have done the job that we did. You don't have it in your blood. You could have never done that job.
I know how to do the job. I know how to get the job
Well, you
done.
didn't do very well in swine flu. H1N1, you were a disaster. Your own chief of staff said you were a disaster.
14,000 people died, not 200,000. There was no
very
economic recession.
You made a
There was no recession.
You made a point, let him answer.
And there was we didn't shut down the economy. This is his economy he shut down. The reason it's shut down is because, look, you folks at home, how many of you got up this morning and had an empty chair at the kitchen table because someone died of COVID? How many of you were in a situation where you lost your mom or dad and you couldn't even speak to them? You had a nurse holding the phone up so you could, in fact, say goodbye.
You would have lost far more people. Far more people. And you would have been.
And by the way,
late.
your own his own CDC director says we could lose as many as another 200,000 people between now and the end of the year. And he held up. He said, if we just wear a mask, we can save half those numbers. Just a mask. And by the way, in terms of the whole notion of a vaccine, we're for a vaccine, but I don't trust him at all, nor do you. I know you don't. What we trust is a scientist.
You don't
we
trust
Dr.
Johnson
Fauci.
Johnson, Pfizer.
Okay,
by the way,
gentlemen, let me move on to questions about the future because you both have touched on two of the questions I'm going to ask. Focusing on the future first, President Trump, you have repeatedly either contradicted or been at odds with some of your government's own top scientists. The week before last, the head of the Centers for Disease Control, Dr. Redfield, said it would be summer before the vaccine would become generally available to the public. You said that he was confused and mistaken. Those were your two words. Yeah. But Dr. Slaoui, the head of your Operation Warp Speed, has said exactly the same thing. Are they both wrong?
Well, I've spoken to the companies and we can have it a lot sooner. It's a very political thing because people like this would rather make it political than save lives. It is a very political thing. I've spoken to Pfizer. I've spoken to all of the people that you have to speak to. We have great Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, and others. They can go faster than that by a lot. Become very political because the left, or I don't know if I call them left, I don't know what I call them.
You're suggesting that the head of your Operation Warp Speed, Dr. Slaoui?
I disagree with him. Yeah. No, I disagree with both of them. And he didn't say that. He said it could be there, but it could also be much sooner. I had him in my office 2 days ago.
He talked about the summer, sir, before it's generally available.
Just like he said, it's a possibility that we'll have the answer before November 1st. It could also be after
when it's
that.
Generally available.
Well, we're going to deliver it right away. We have the military all set up logistically. They're all set up. We have our military that delivers soldiers, and they can do 200,000 a day. They're going to be
This is the same man.
It's
who
all
told
set
you
up.
By Easter, this would be gone away. By the warm weather, it'd be gone. Miraculous, like a miracle. And by the way, maybe you could inject some bleach in your arm, and that would take care of it. This is the same man.
That was said sarcastically.
That was
you know that. I would have said sarcastically.
Here's the deal. This man is talking about a vaccine. Every serious company is talking about maybe having a vaccine done by the end of the year. But the distribution of that vaccine will not occur until sometime beginning or the middle of next year to get it out, if we get the vaccine. And pray God we will. Pray God we will.
Mr. Vice President, I want to pick up
You'll have the vaccine sooner
I want to
than
pick
that.
up on this question, though. You say the public can trust the scientists, but they can't trust President Trump. In fact, you said that again tonight. Your running mate, Senator Harris, goes further saying the public health experts, quote, will be muzzled, will be suppressed. Given the fact that polls already show that people are concerned about the vaccine and are reluctant to take it, are you and your running mate, Senator Harris, contributing to that fear?
No more than the question you just asked him. You pointed out. He puts pressure and disagrees with his own scientists.
But you're saying
Everybody
you can't,
knows.
Senator
And
Harris is saying
no,
you can't trust the science.
No, you can trust the scientists. She didn't say that. You can't trust
She said the public health
Did say
experts,
that.
quote, will be muzzled, will be suppressed.
Well, that's what he's going to try to do. But there's millions of scientists, there's thousands of scientists out there, like here at this great hospital, that don't work for him. Their job doesn't depend on him. That's not, they're the people. And by the way,
to the scientists that are in charge.
By the way,
they will have the vaccine very soon.
do you believe for a moment what he's telling you in light of all the lies he's told you about the whole issue relating to COVID? He still hasn't even acknowledged that he knew this was happening, knew how dangerous it was going to be back in February, and he didn't even tell you. He's on record as saying it. He panicked or he just looked at the stock market, one of the two, because guess what? A lot of people died, and a lot more are going to die. He gets a lot smarter, a lot quicker.
Mr. President?
Did you use the word smart? So you said you went to Delaware State, but you forgot the name of your college. You didn't go to Delaware State. You graduated either the lowest or almost the lowest in your class. Don't ever use the word smart with me. Don't ever use that word.
Oh, give me a break.
Because you know what? There's nothing smart about you, Joe. 47 years you've done nothing.
Let's have this debate.
And if you would have had, let me just tell you something, Joe.
No,
If you would have had the charge of what I was put through, I had to close the greatest economy in the history of our country. And by the way, now it's being built again.
See,
and
We're
it's
going
going
to get
up
to the
fast.
economy in the next segment, sir.
Okay.
It's going up fast.
Okay.
Looking forward to it.
When it comes to how the virus has been handled so far, the two of you have taken very different approaches, and this is going to affect how the virus is handled going forward by whichever of you ends up becoming the next president. I want to quickly go through several of those. Reopenings. Vice President Biden, you have been much more reluctant than President Trump about reopening the economy and schools. Why, sir?
Because he doesn't have a plan. If I were running, I know what the plan is. You've got to provide these businesses the ability to have the money to be able to reopen with the PPE as well as with the sanitation they need. You have to
Tell
provide
that to
them
Nancy
plastic.
Pelosi.
Okay? Well, he just shush for a minute.
Tell it to
You
Nancy
know,
Pelosi.
And
Schumer,
by the
Brian
way,
Chuck.
Nancy Pelosi and Schumer, they have a plan. He won't even meet with them. The Republicans won't meet with the Senate. And he sits on his golf course. And, I mean, literally, think about it.
You probably
All right,
play
think
more than
about
I do, Joe.
What about this question of reopenings and the fact
Well, he wants to shut down this country, and I want to keep it open. And we
You
did a
just-
great
he
thing
just
by
admitted
shutting
he
it
shut
down.
it down.
Wait a minute,
Let
Joe.
him
Let me
finish
shut you down for a second, Joe, just for 1 second. He wants to shut down the country. We just went through it. We had to because we didn't know anything about the disease. Now we found that elderly people with heart problems and diabetes and different problems are very, very vulnerable. We learned a lot. Young children aren't. Even younger people aren't. We've learned a lot. But he wants to shut it down. More people will be hurt by continuing. If you look at Pennsylvania, if you look at certain states that have been shut down, they have Democrat governors all. One of the reasons they're shut down is because they want to keep it shut down until after the election on November
I want to
3rd.
move on to another
Because
subject.
it's a
I want to move
political.
on to another
I gotta
subject.
respond.
But those states are not doing well that are shut down
Which is
right
now.
now.
Respond to that.
What's
President
to shut
Trump,
down the
you
whole
have
country?
begun to increasingly question the effectiveness of masks as a disease preventer. And in fact, recently you have cited the issue of waiters touching their masks and touching plates. Are you questioning
No, I think
the
masks
efficacy
are
of
okay.
of
You have to
masks?
understand, if you look, I mean, I have a mask right here. I put a mask on it, when I think I need it. Tonight, as an example, everybody's had a test and you've had social distancing and all of the things that you have to, but I
Just
wear
like your
masks
rally.
when needed. When needed, I wear masks.
Okay, let me ask.
I don't wear masks like him. Every time you see him, he's got a mask. He could be speaking 200 feet away from it. He shows up with the biggest mask I've ever seen. I will say
Vice President Biden, go ahead, sir.
Look, the way to open businesses is give them the wherewithal to be able to open. We provided money.
But I was asking you, sir, about masks.
Well, masks make a big difference. His own head of the CDC said if we just wore masks between now, everybody wore masks in social distance between now and January, we'd probably save up to 100,000 lives. It mattered.
And they've also said the opposite. They've also said
no serious person said the opposite.
Well, look at Dr. Fauci. Dr. Fauci said the opposite.
I want to ask you, we got a little bit more than a minute left in this
masks
segment.
are not good. Then he changed his mind. He said masks are good. I'm okay with masks.
I want to ask you both about one last subject, because your different approaches has even affected the way that you have campaigned. President Trump, you're holding large rallies with crowds packed together, thousands of people. Outside, yes, sir, agree. Vice President Biden, you are holding much smaller events with
nobody will show up.
People with
It's true. Nobody shows up to his rally.
All right. In any case, why you holding the big rallies? Why you not? You go first, sir.
Because people want to hear what I have to say. I mean,
but are you
I've
not
done a
worried
great
about
job
spreading
as a
disease?
president, and I'll have 35,000 people show up at airports. We use airports.
Are you not worried about
we
the
have a
disease
lot of
issues,
people.
sir?
Well, so far we have had no problem whatsoever. It's outside. That's a big difference, according to the experts. And we do them outside. We have tremendous crowds, as you see. I mean, and literally on 24 hours notice. And Joe does the circles and has 3 people someplace.
Okay.
By the way, did you see
gotcha.
one of the last big rallies he had? And a reporter came up to him to ask him a question. He said, no, stand back. Put on your mask. Put on a mask. Have you been tested? I'm way far away from those other people. So that's what he said. I'm going to be okay. He's not worried about you. He's not worried about the people out there breathing in one cheek to jowl. No negative effect.
We've had no negative effect. And we've had 35, 40,000
All right.
people at these rallies.
Just quickly finish up, because I want to move on to our next.
Yes, I would. He's been totally irresponsible the way in which he has handled the social distancing and people wearing masks, basically encouraged them not to.
All right.
Ben, he's a fool on this.
If you could get the crowds, you would have done the same thing. But you can't. Nobody cares.
Gentlemen, can we move on to the economy? Gentlemen, can we move on to the economy? Yes. The economy is, I think it's fair to say, recovering faster than expected from the shutdown. In the second quarter, the unemployment rate fell to 8.4% last month. The Federal Reserve says the hit to growth, which is going to be there, is not going to be nearly as big as they had expected. President Trump, you say we are in a V-shaped recovery. Vice President Biden, you say it's more of a K-shape. What difference does that mean to the American people in terms of the economy? President Trump, in this segment, you go first.
So we built the greatest economy in history. We closed it down because of the China plague. When the plague came in, we closed it down, which was very hard psychologically to do. He didn't think we should close it down, and he was wrong. And again, 2 million people would be dead now. Instead of still 204,000 people is too much. One person is too much. Should have never happened from China. But what happened is we closed it down, and now we're reopening, and we're doing record business. We had 10.4 million people in a 4-month period that we've put back into the workforce. That's a record the likes of which nobody's ever seen before. And he wants to close down he will shut it down again. He will destroy this country. You know, a lot of people, between drugs and alcohol and depression, when you start shutting it down, you take a look at what's happening in some of your Democrat-run states where they have these tough shutdowns. And I'm telling you, it's because they don't want to open it. One of them came out last week. You saw that. Oh, we're going to open up on November 9th. Why November 9th? Because it's after the election. They think they're hurting us by keeping them closed. They're hurting people. People know what to do. They can social distance. They can wash their hands. They can wear masks. They can do whatever they want. But they got to open these states up. When you look at North Carolina, when you look, and these governors are under siege, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and a couple of others, you got to open these states up. It's not fair. You're talking about almost, it's like being in prison. And you look at what's going on with divorce, look at what's going on with alcoholism and drugs. It's a very, very sad thing. And he'll close down the whole country. This guy will close down the whole country and destroy our country. Our country is coming back incredibly well, setting records as it does it. We don't need somebody to come in and say, let's shut it down.
All right. Your 2 minutes, sir. We're now moved to you. As I said, posing the question, the president says it's a V-shaped recovery. You say it's a K-shaped recovery. What's the difference?
The difference is millionaires and billionaires like him in the middle of the COVID crisis have done very well. Billionaires have made another $300 billion because of his profligate tax proposal, and you only focus on the market. But you folks at home, you folks living in Scranton and Claymont and all the small towns and working class towns in America, how well are you doing? This guy paid a total of $750 in taxes.
Sir, wait, no, sir, it's just yeah, I understand. You've agreed to the 2 minutes, so please let him have it.
I get my time back. The fact is that he has, in fact, worked on this in a way that he's going to be the first president of the United States to leave office having fewer jobs in his administration than when he became president. Fewer jobs than when he became president. First one in American history. Secondly, the people who have lost their jobs are those people who have been on the front lines, those people who have been saving our lives, those people who have been out there dying, people who've been putting themselves in a way to make sure that we could all try to make it. And the idea that he is insisting that we go forward and open when you have almost half the states in America with a significant increase in COVID deaths and COVID cases in the United States of America. And he wants to open it up more. Why does he want to open it up? Why doesn't he take care of the American? You can't fix the economy until you fix the COVID crisis. And he has no intention of doing anything about making it better for you all at home in terms of your health and your safety. Schools, why aren't schools open? Because it costs a lot of money to open them safely. You know, they were going to give, his administration was going to give the teachers and school students masks. Then they decided, no, couldn't do that because it's not a national emergency. Not a national emergency. They've done nothing to help small businesses. Nothing. They're closing. 1 in 6 is now gone. He ought to get on the job and take care of the needs of the American people so we can open safely.
All right, your time is up, sir. We are going to get to.
I have to respond to that.
Well, you both had 2 minutes, sir.
Excuse me, he made a statement.
So did you.
People want their schools. No, people want their schools open. They don't want to be shut down. They don't want their state shut down. They want their restaurants. I look at New York. It's so sad what's happening in New York. It's almost like a ghost town. And I'm not sure it can ever recover what they've done in New York. People want their places open. They want to get back to their lives. They'll be careful, but they want their schools open.
Okay.
I'm the one that brought back football. By the way, I brought back Big Ten football. It was me, and I'm very happy to do it. And
all right,
the people of Ohio are very proud of me. And you know how I found out? When
Gentlemen, we're going to get to your economic plans going forward in a moment. But first, Mr. President, as you well know, there's a new report that in 2016, the year you were elected president, and 2017, your first year as president, that you paid $750 a year in federal income tax each of those years. I know that you pay a lot of other taxes, but I'm asking you the specific question. Is it true that you paid $750 in federal income taxes each of those 2 years?
I paid millions of dollars in taxes, millions of dollars of income tax. And let me just tell you, there was a story in one of the papers. I paid $38 million 1 year. I paid $27 million.
Show us your tax returns.
I went, you'll see it as soon as it's finished. You'll see it. You know, if you want to do, go to the Board of Elections. There's a 118-page or so report that says everything I have, every bank I have, I'm totally under leveraged because the assets are extremely good. And we have I built a great
I'm asking
company.
you a specific question, which is.
Let me tell you.
I understand all of that. I understand all of that. No, Mr. President, I'm asking you a question. Will you tell us how much you paid in federal income taxes in 2016 and 2017?
Millions of dollars.
You paid millions of dollars?
Millions of dollars.
So
yes.
not 750.
Millions of dollars. And you'll get to see it. And you'll get to see it. But let me just tell you, Chris, let me just tell you something that it was the tax laws. I don't want to pay tax. Before I came here, I was a private developer. I was a private business people. Like every other private person, unless they're stupid, they go through the laws, and that's what it is. He passed a tax bill that gave us all these privileges for depreciation and for tax credits. We build the building and we get tax credits like the hotel on Pennsylvania Avenue. You get a massive, which by the way, was given to me by the Obama administration, if you can believe that. Now the man got fired right after that happened. But
Vice President Biden, you want to respond?
Yeah, I do want to respond. Look, the tax code that made him, put him in a position that he pays less tax than a school teacher makes on the money a school teacher makes is because of he says he's smart because he can take advantage of the tax code. And he does take advantage of the tax code. That's why I'm going to eliminate the Trump tax cuts. And I'm going to eliminate those tax cuts and make sure that we invest in the people who, in fact, need the help. People out there need help.
But why didn't you do it over the last 25 years?
Because you weren't president. Because you weren't president screwing things up.
You were a senator.
You're the worst president America has ever had.
Hey,
Come
Joe,
on.
let me just say, Joe, I've done more in 47 months. I've done more than you've done in 47 years, Joe. We've done things that you never even thought of doing, including fixing the broken military that you gave me, including taking care of your vets.
Mr. President, we're talking about the economy. I'd like to ask you about your plans going forward because, Mr. Vice President, your economic plan, if you were to be elected president, focuses a lot on big government, big taxes, big spending. I want to focus first on the taxes. You propose more than $4 trillion over a decade in new taxes on individuals making more than $400,000 a year and on corporations. President Trump says that kind of an increase in taxes is going to hurt the economy as it's just coming out of a recession.
Well, just take a look at what is the analysis done by Wall Street firms. Points out that my economic plan would create 7 million more jobs than his in 4 years, number one. And number two, it would create an additional $1 trillion in economic growth because it would be about buying American. That we're going to make this federal government spend $600 billion a year on everything from ships to steel to buildings and the like. And under my proposal, we're going to make sure that every penny of that has to be made by a company.
But respectfully, sir, I'm talking about taxes, not spending.
Well, by the way, I'm going to eliminate a significant number of the tax. I'm going to make the corporate tax 28%. It shouldn't be 21%. You have 91 companies, in the Fortune 500 who don't pay a single penny in tax, making billions of dollars.
Why didn't you do it
Billions
before
of dollars.
you were vice president with Obama?
Because you, in fact, passed that. That was your tax proposal.
I got it done. And you know what happened?
Yeah, you got it done.
Our economy boomed like it's never boomed.
The economy is busted.
Mr. President, let me pick up on that. You would continue your free market approach, lower taxes, more deregulation, correct?
Not lower taxes for American people.
But in Obama's, you talk about the economy booming. It turns out that in Obama's final 3 years as president, more jobs were created, 1.5 million more jobs than in the first 3 years of your presidency.
They had the slowest recovery economic recovery since 1929. It was the slowest recovery. Also, they took over something that was down here. All you had to do is turn on the lights and you pick up a lot. But they had the slowest economic recovery since 1929. Let me tell you about the stock market. When the stock market goes up, that means jobs. It also means 401ks. If you got in, if you ever became president with your ideas, you want to terminate my taxes, I'll tell you what, you'll lose half of the companies that have poured in here will leave. And plenty of companies that are already here, they'll leave for other places. They will leave, and you will have a depression, the likes of which you've never seen.
Look, we inherited the worst recession, short of a depression, in American history. I was asked to bring it back. We were able to have an economic recovery that created the jobs you're talking about. Booming economy. He blew it.
It wasn't booming.
He blew it.
It wasn't booming. It was the weakest recovery since 1929.
Is it fair to say he blew it when fact, there was record low unemployment before COVID?
Yeah, but because what he did, even before COVID, manufacturing went in the hole.
Excuse me, Chris. Wait.
Number two.
Chris.
Number three.
They said it would take. No, you were number two.
No.
Chris. They said it would take a miracle to bring back manufacturing. I brought back 700,000 jobs. They brought back nothing. They gave up on manufacturing. Part of my standard fare.
I'm the guy that
totally gave up on manufacturing.
We brought back. I was asked to bring back Chrysler and General Motors. We brought them back right here in the state of Ohio and Michigan. He blew it. They're gone. He blew it. And in fact, they're going.
Ohio had the best year it's ever had last year. Michigan had the best year they've ever had.
That is not
Many
true.
Car companies came in from Germany, from Japan, went to Michigan, went to Ohio.
They're not.
And they didn't come in.
Mr. Vice President.
And so you take a look at what he's actually done. He's done very little. His trade deals are the same way. He talks about these great trade deals. You know, he talks about the art of the deal. China's perfected the art of the steal. We have a higher deficit with China now than we did before. We have the highest trade deficit
China
with
ate
Mexico.
your lunch.
All
Down
right, gentlemen,
18%.
and
China ate your lunch, Joe. And no wonder your son goes in and he takes out billions of dollars, to manage. He makes millions of dollars. And also, while we're at it, why is it, just out of curiosity, the mayor of Moscow's wife gave your son $3.5 million. What did he do to deserve it? What did he do with
none
to
of that
deserve $183,000?
You've asked a question, let him answer it.
None of that is true.
Oh, really? He
Totally,
didn't get
But no,
$3.5 million?
Mr. President,
it's
Mr.
totally,
President, please.
totally discredited. Totally discredited. And by the way,
Well, wait, he didn't get $3.5 million, Joe?
Mr. Vice,
He got
Mr.
$3.5
President,
million.
that is not true.
Oh, really?
Mr.
Oh,
President,
But
it's an open discussion, please.
No,
It's a fact.
Well,
it
you
is
have
not.
raised an issue. Let the
been
Vice
totally
President answer.
discredited.
Did
There was a
Burisma pay him
report.
$183,000 a month with no experience in energy?
Mr.
Look,
President,
my son did nothing wrong at Burisma.
I think he
and
did.
Mr.
the only
President,
guy that
let
did
him
something-
answer.
He doesn't want to let me answer because he knows I have the truth. His position has been totally, thoroughly discredited.
By who?
And
The media.
By everybody. Well, by the media, by our
because they refuse to
allies, by
talk
the
about it
World
because they're
Bank,
embarrassed.
by everyone has discredited. Matter of
Dude,
fact, even
Mr.
the people
President,
who
please stop.
testified under oath.
So let me
Under
ask you
oath.
this,
Under-
Joe.
under
No,
oath.
go ahead, Mr. I'm listening to
Even the
you.
people under,
You got $3.5
he
million
testified-
from Moscow.
he testified under oath in his administration, said, I did my job and I did it very well.
Oh,
I
really?
did it
I'd like to know
honorably.
who they are.
Well, I'll give you the list
I'll
of the
fire
people who
them.
testified.
No, go ahead, sir.
Sure, you've already fired most of them because they did a good
Because
job.
Some people don't
Well,
do a good
here's
job. With you,
Go
they
ahead.
say,
You get
here's
the,
the
wait a
deal.
minute. You get the final word. Mr.
Well, it's hard to get any word in with this clown. Excuse me.
Hey, let me just say that.
No.
No.
Mr. President.
$3.5
Mr.
million,
President.
Joe.
That is simply
Why did
not
he
true.
deserve $3.5 million
It
from
did-
Moscow?
Look, here's the deal. We want to talk about families and ethics. I don't want to do that. I mean, his family we could talk about all night. His family's
My
already
family,
No, let him go.
my
I
family
already
lost
wrote-
a fortune by
Go ahead.
coming down and helping
Go
us
ahead.
with
Go ahead,
government.
sir.
and that's
Every-
such a
Mr.
That's
President.
such a
Every
great.
single one of them lost.
This
a
is not
fortune
about
by
President.
my
coming and
family or
helping
his
us with
family. It's
government.
about your family,
They
the
didn't
American
buy
people.
$3.5 million.
He doesn't. That's not true. It doesn't want to talk about what you need. You, the American people. It's about you. That's what we're talking about.
you
here.
should-
All right,
It's
that's
not
the end
about
of
you.
that's the end of the
Didn't
segment.
take
We're,
them.
we're moving on.
It didn't take them.
Well,
Vice President, no.
Can I be honest? It's a very important
Try to be
question.
honest.
No,
He stood up.
No,
He stood up
the answer to
and
the
he
question is
threatened
no.
Ukraine.
No, sir.
With $1 billion,
Sir,
if you
That
get rid of
is
the-
If you're- you know what, you're-
absolutely not
stop.
true.
Tape
You're-
doing it.
You're going to
Not
have,
true.
gentlemen, I hate to raise my voice,
He's
but I
on
see it
tape.
seems to be, why should I be different than the two of you? So here's the
That's a
deal.
good point.
We have 6 segments. We have ended that segment. We're going to go to the next segment. In that segment, you each are going to have 2 uninterrupted moments. In those 2 uninterrupted minutes, Mr. President, you can say anything you want. I'm going to ask a question about race, but if you want to answer about something else, go ahead. But I think that the country would be better served if we allowed both people to speak with fewer interruptions. I'm appealing to you, sir, to do that.
Well, and him too.
Well, frankly, you've been doing more
Oh,
interrupting.
that's
than
all
he
right,
has.
but he does plenty.
Well, less than, sir, less
There's
than,
plenty.
no, less than you have. Let's please continue on. The issue of race. Vice President Biden, you say that President Trump's response to the violence in Charlottesville 3 years ago, when he talked about very fine people on both sides, was what directly led you to launch this run for president.
Oh, yes.
President Trump, you have often said that you believe you have done more for Black Americans than any president, with the possible exception of Abraham Lincoln. My question for the two of you is, why should voters trust you rather than your opponent to deal with the race issues facing this country over the next 4 years? Vice President Biden, you go first.
It's about equity and equality. It's about decency. It's about the Constitution. And we have never walked away from trying to require equity for everyone, equality for the whole of America. But we've never accomplished it. But we've never walked away from it like he has done. It is true. The reason I got in the race is when those people, close your eyes, remember what those people look like coming out of the fields carrying torches, their veins bulging, spewing anti-Semitic bile, and accompanied by the Ku Klux Klan. A young woman got killed. And they asked the president what he thought. He said there were very fine people on both sides. No president's ever said anything like that.
It is who's
now, second point I'd make is that when Floyd was killed, when Mr. Floyd was killed, there was a peaceful protest in front of the White House. What did he do? He came out of his bunker, had the military use tear gas on him so he could walk across to a church and hold up a Bible. And then what happened after that? The bishop of that very church said that it was a disgrace. The general who was with him said all he ever wants to do is divide people, not unite people at all. This is a president who has used everything as a dog whistle to try to generate racist hatred, racist division. This is a man who, in fact, you talk about helping African Americans. 1 in 1,000 African Americans has been killed because of the coronavirus. And if he doesn't do something quickly, by the end of the year, 1 in 500 will have been killed. 1 in 500 African Americans. This man is a savior of African Americans. This man cares at all. This man's done virtually nothing. Look, the fact is that you have to look at what he talks about. You have to look at what he did. And what he did has been disastrous for the African American community.
So, President Trump, you have 2 minutes. Why should Americans trust you over your opponent to deal with racism?
You did a crime bill, 1994, where you call them super predators, African Americans, super predators, and they've never forgotten it. They've never forgotten it, Joe.
No, sir, it's his 2 minutes.
So you did that, and they call you super predator, and I'm letting people out of jail now that you have treated the African American population community, you have treated the black community about as bad as anybody in this country. You did the 1990, and that's why, if you look at the polls, I'm doing better than any Republican has done in a long time, because they saw what you did. You call them super predators, and you've called them worse than that, because you look back at your testimony over the years, you've called them a lot worse than that. As far as the church is concerned, and as far as the generals are concerned, we just got the support of 250 military leaders and generals, total support. Law enforcement, almost every law enforcement group in the United States. I have Florida, I have Texas, I have Ohio, I have Portland. The sheriff just came out today and he said, I support President Trump. I don't think you have any law enforcement. You can't even say the word law enforcement, because if you say those words, you're going to lose all of your radical left supporters. And why aren't you saying those words, Joe? Why don't you say the words law enforcement? Because you know what? If they called us in Portland, we would put out that fire in a half an hour, but they won't do it because they're run by radical left Democrats. If you look at Chicago, if you look at any place you want to look, Seattle, they heard we were coming in the following day and they put up their hands and we got back Seattle. Minneapolis, we got it back, Joe, because we believe in law and order, but you don't. The top 10 cities and just about the top 40 cities are run by Democrats and in many cases radical left. And they've got you wrapped around their finger, Joe, to a point where you don't want to say anything about law and order. And I'll tell you what, the people of this country want and demand law and order, and you're afraid to even say it.
All right. I want to return to the question of race. Vice President Biden, after the grand jury in the Breonna Taylor case decided not to charge any of the police with homicide, you said it raises the question, quote, whether justice could be equally applied in America. Do you believe that there is a separate but unequal system of justice for blacks in this country?
Yes, there's systemic injustice in this country, in education and work and in law enforcement and the way in which it's enforced. But look, the vast majority of police officers are good, decent, honorable men and women. They risk their lives every day to take care of us. But there are some bad apples. When they occur, when they find them, they have to be sorted out. They have to be held accountable. They have to be held accountable. And what I'm going to do as President of the United States is call together an entire group of people at the White House, well, everything from the civil rights groups to the police officers, to the police chiefs, and we're going to work this out. We're going to work this out so we change the way in which we have more transparency in when these things happen. These cops aren't happy to see what happened to George Floyd. These cops aren't happy to see what happened to Breonna Taylor. Most don't like it, but we have to have a system where people are held accountable. And by the way, violence in response is never appropriate. Never appropriate. Peaceful protest is. Violence is never appropriate.
All right. What is peaceful protest? When they run through the middle of the town and burn down your stores and kill people all over the place,
that
and you
is
say
not
peaceful
peaceful.
protest?
No,
No,
I'm
it's
not
not,
asking.
but you say it is.
President
not
Trump,
say
I'd like to continue with the
Yes,
issue
go
of
ahead,
race. I
please.
promise we're going to get to the issue of law and order in a moment. This month, your administration directed federal agencies to end racial sensitivity training that addresses white privilege or critical race theory. Why did you decide to do that, to end racial sensitivity training? And do you believe that there is systemic racism in this country, sir?
I ended it because it's racist. I ended it because a lot of people were complaining that they were asked to do things that were absolutely insane, that it was a radical revolution that was taking place in our military, in our schools, all over the place, and you know it, and so does everybody
What
else.
is radical?
And he would know.
What is
Oh, it was
radical
totally
about
racist.
racial sensitivity training?
If you were a certain person, you had no status in life. It was sort of a reversal. And if you look at the people, we would pay people hundreds of thousands of dollars to teach very bad ideas and frankly, very sick ideas. And really, they were teaching people to hate our country. And I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to allow that to happen. We have to go back to the core values of this country. They were teaching people that our country is a horrible place. It's a racist place. And they were teaching people to hate our country. And I'm not going to allow that to happen.
Vice President Biden?
Nobody's doing that. He's the
you-
racist.
you just don't.
Here's the deal. I know a lot more about
You
this.
don't
than
know.
you do.
Let him finish.
The fact is that there is racial insensitivity. People have to be made aware of what other people feel like, what insults them, what is demeaning to them. It's important that people know they don't want to. Many people don't want to hurt other people's feelings, but it makes a big difference. It makes a gigantic difference in the way a child is able to grow up and have a sense of self-esteem. It's a little bit like how this guy and his friends look down on so many people. They look down their nose on people like Irish Catholics like me and grew up in Scranton. They look down on people who don't have money. They look down on people who are of a different faith. They look down on people who are a different color. In fact, we're all Americans. The only way we're going to bring this country together is bring everybody together. There's nothing we cannot do if we do it together. We can take this on and we can defeat racism in America.
President Trump, sir.
During the Obama-Biden administration, there was tremendous division. There was hatred. You look at Ferguson, you go to very many places. Look at Oakland. Look what happened in Oakland. Look what happened in Baltimore. Look what happened. Frankly, it was more violent than what I'm even seeing now. But the reason is that the Democrats that run these cities don't want to talk like you about law and order.
Violent
and you
crime,
still haven't mentioned. Are you in favor of law and order?
I'm in favor of law. You follow it.
Are you in favor of law and order? Go ahead.
You asked a question, let him finish.
Law and order.
Let him.
Law and order with justice, where people get treated fairly. And the fact of the matter is, violent crime went down 17%, 15% in our administration.
All right.
It's gone up on his watch.
Went down much more in ours.
All right, we're down.
Mr.
President, you're going
States
to.
of America.
Mr. President,
every record in the
Mr. President, you're going to be very happy because we're now going to talk about law and order.
places we had trouble with Democratic-run cities.
That's
and
exactly
so
my
is
question. There has been a dramatic increase in homicides in America this summer, particularly, and you often blame that on Democratic mayors and Democratic governors, but in fact, there have been equivalent spikes in Republican-led cities like Tulsa and Fort Worth. So the question is this really a party issue?
I think it's a party issue. You can bring in a couple of examples, but if you look at Chicago, what's going on in Chicago, where 53 people were shot and 8 died shot. If you look at New York, where it's going up like nobody's ever seen anything, the numbers are going up 100, 150, 200% crime. It is crazy what's going on. And he doesn't want to say law and order because he can't, because he'll lose his radical left supporters. And once he does that, it's over with. But if he ever got to run this country and they ran it the way he would want to run it, we would have our suburbs would be gone. By the way, our suburbs would be gone. And you would see problems like you've
He
never
would
seen.
know a suburb unless he took a wrong turn.
Oh, I know suburbs.
He would
so
not.
much
I was
better.
raised.
Go ahead. Wait a minute.
I was raised in the suburbs. This is not 1950. All these dog whistles and racism don't work anymore. Suburbs are by and large integrated. There's many people today driving their kids to soccer practice and or to black and white and Hispanic in the same car as there have been any time in the past. What really is a threat to the suburbs and their safety is his failure to deal with COVID. They're dying in the suburbs. His failure to deal with the environment. They're being flooded. They're being burned out because his refusal to do anything. That's why the suburbs are in trouble.
I do want to talk about this issue of law and order, though. And in the joint recommendation that came from the Biden-Bernie Sanders task force, you talked about, quote, reimagining policing. First of all, what does reimagining policing mean? And do you support?
It means.
Let me, if I might finish the question. What does reimagining policing mean? And do you support the Black Lives Matter call for community control of policing?
Look, what I support is the police having the opportunity to deal with the problems they face. And I'm totally opposed to defunding the police officers. As a matter of fact, local police, the only one defunding it, his budget calls for a $400 million cut in local law enforcement assistance. They need more assistance. They need, when they show up for a 9/11 call, to have someone with them as a psychologist or psychiatrist to keep them from having to use force and be able to talk people down. We have to have community policing like we had before, where the officers get to know the people in the communities. That's when crime went down. It didn't go up, it went down. And so we have to be engaged.
That's not what they're talking about, Chris. That's not what they're talking about. He's talking about defunding the police.
That is not true.
He doesn't have any law support.
Look,
he has no law enforcement.
That's not
support.
true.
Almost
that's
nothing.
Not. Look,
all right, who do you have? Name one group that supports you. Name one group that came out and supported you. Go ahead. Think. We have time.
We don't have time to do
No,
anything.
all right.
folks,
Name one law enforcement group that came out and supported.
I think, gentlemen, I think I'm going to take back the
There
moderator's
aren't. I don't
role,
think there are any.
and I want to get to another subject, which is the issue of protests in many cities that have turned violent. In Portland, Oregon, especially, we had more than 100 straight days of protests, which I think you would agree. You talk about peaceful protests. Many of those turned into riots. Mr. Vice President, you say that people who commit crimes should be held accountable. The question I have, though, is as the Democratic nominee, and earlier tonight you said that you are the Democratic Party right now, have you ever called the Democratic mayor of Portland or the Democratic governor of Oregon and said, hey, you got to stop this, bring in the National Guard, do whatever it takes, but you'd stop the days and months of violence in Portland?
I don't hold public office now. I am a former vice president. I've made it clear in my public statements that the violence should be prosecuted. It should be prosecuted. And anyone who commits it
But
should
you've
be
never
prosecuted.
called for the people, that's the leader, excuse me, sir. You had never called for the leaders in Portland and in Oregon to call and bring in the National Guard and knock off 100 days of riots.
They can, in fact, take care of it if he just stay out of the way. Look here.
Oh, really?
Here's the
But
thing.
I sent in the
wait, I
U.S.
asked him a
Marshal
question.
to get the killer of a young man in the middle of the street. They shot him. And for 3
Mr.
days,
President Trump,
Portland
President
wouldn't do
Trump,
anything.
please
I had to send in
interrupt
the U.S. Marshals and they
President Trump,
took care of business.
Go ahead, sir.
And by the way, his own former spokesperson said, riots and chaos and violence help his cause. That's what this is all about.
I don't know who said that.
I do.
Who?
I think Kellyanne Conway.
I don't think she said.
She said that. And so here's the point. The point is that that's what he keeps trying to rile everything up. He doesn't want to calm things down. Instead of going in and talking to people and saying, let's get everybody together, figure out how to deal with this. What's he do? He just pours gasoline in the fire constantly and every single solitary time.
And to end this, button up this segment, I'm going to give you a minute to answer, sir. You have repeatedly criticized.
I have to answer his statement.
You have repeatedly. You've been talking.
You made a statement.
I'm asking you.
I would love to end it.
Sir.
I would love to end it.
If you want to switch seats,
very quickly.
We can do that. But
I'd send in the National Guard, it would be over. There'd be no problem.
Okay.
But they don't want to accept the National Guard.
You have repeatedly criticized the vice president for not specifically calling out Antifa and other left-wing extremist groups. But are you willing tonight to condemn white supremacists and militia groups and to say that they need to stand down and not add to the violence in a number of these cities, as we saw in Kenosha and as we've seen in Portland?
Sure,
Are you
I'm willing
prepared to
do that,
specifically
but
do it? Well,
I
go
would
ahead,
say
sir.
I would say almost everything I see is from the left wing, not from the right wing.
So what are you saying?
I'm willing to do anything. I want to see peace.
Then do it, sir.
Say it. Do it. Say it. You want to call them? What do you want to call them? Give me a name. Give me a
White
name.
supremacists and
Who would
white
you like me to condemn?
white supremacists and right
Proud
militia.
Boys, stand back and stand by. But I'll tell you what. Somebody's got to do something about Antifa and the left, because this is not a right-wing problem. This is a left wing. This is a left-wing problem.
White supremacists. Antifa's an idea, not an organization.
Oh, you got it.
Not militia. That's what his
It's an idea.
FBI, his FBI director
Gentlemen,
said.
Well, then you know what?
We're done, sir. We're moving on to the next. We're
When
moving.
a bat hits you over the head, that's not an idea.
Everybody in
Antifa
your
is bad.
administration tells you the truth is a bad idea.
Can I tell you what?
You have no ideas.
Antifa is a dangerous
All right,
radical
gentlemen, we're
group.
now moving on to the Trump
And
and
you ought to be
Biden
careful.
records.
They'll overthrow you.
When a president, I'm going to ask you a question. When the president seeks a second term, it is generally a referendum on his record. But Vice President Biden, you like to quote one of your dad's sayings, which is, don't compare me to the almighty, compare me to the alternative. And in this case, sir, you are the alternative. Looking at both of your records, I'm going to ask each of you, why should voters elect you president over your opponent? In this segment, President Trump, you go first, 2 minutes.
Because there has never been an administration or president who has done more than I've done in a period of 3.5 years. And that's despite the impeachment hoax. And you saw what happened today with Hillary Clinton, where it was a whole big con job. But despite going through all of these things, where I had to fight both flanks and behind me and above, there has never been an administration that's done what I've done. The greatest, before COVID came in, the greatest economy in history, lowest unemployment numbers. Everything was good. Everything was going. And by the way, there was unity going to happen. People were calling me for the first time in years. They were calling and they were saying, it's time maybe. And then what happened? We got hit, but now we're building it back up again. A rebuilding of the military, including Space Force and all of the other things. A fixing of the VA, which was a mess under him. 308,000 people died because they didn't have proper health care. It was a mess. And we now got a 91% approval rating at the VA, our vets. We take care of our vets. But we've rebuilt our military. The job that we've done, and I'll tell you something, some people say maybe the most important. By the end of the first term, I'll have approximately 300 federal judges and Court of Appeals judges, 300, and hopefully 3 great Supreme Court judges, justices. That is a record, the likes of which very few people, and you know one of the reasons I'll have so many judges, because President Obama and him left me 128 judges to fill. When you leave office, you don't leave any judges. That's like, you just don't do that. They left 128 openings, and if I were a member of his party, because they have a little different philosophy, I'd say if you left us 128 openings, you can't be a good president. You can't be a good vice president. But I want to thank you because it gives us almost, it'll probably be above that number by the end of this term. 300 judges. It's a record.
Looking at both your records, why should voters elect you president as opposed to President Trump? You have 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Under this president, we become weaker, sicker, poorer, more divided, and more violent. When I was vice president, we inherited a recession. I was asked to fix it. I did. We left him a booming economy, and he caused the recession. With regard to being weaker, the fact is that I've gone head-to-head with Putin and made it clear to him we're not going to take any of his stuff. He's Putin's puppy. He still refuses to even say anything to Putin about the bounty on the heads of American soldiers.
His son got
$3.5
million.
And by the way, my son.
Wait a minute. Mr. President, your campaign agreed that both sides would get 2-minute answers uninterrupted. Well, your side agreed to it. And why don't you observe what your campaign agreed to as a ground rule, okay, sir?
He never keeps his word.
No, I'm not asking. That was a rhetorical question. Go ahead,
back
sir.
30 seconds?
Yeah, yes, you may have.
All right.
Go ahead.
So Thirdly, we're poor. The billionaires have got much more wealthy by a tune of over $300 to $400 billion more just since COVID. You in the home, you got less. You're in more trouble than you were before. In terms of being more violent, when we were in office, there were 15% less violence in America than there is today. He's president of the United States. It's on his watch. And with regard to more divided, the nation can't stay divided. We can't be this way. And speaking of my son, the way you talk about the military, the way you talk about them being losers and being and just being suckers. My son was in Iraq. He spent a year there. He got the Bronze Star. He got the Conspicuous Service Medal. He was not a loser. He was a patriot. And the people left behind there were heroes. Really? And I resent.
Are you talking about Hunter? Are you talking about
I'm talking about my son, Bo Biden. You're talking about.
I don't know, Bo. I know Hunter.
Hunter
got thrown out of the military. He was thrown out, dishonorably discharged.
That's not true. It wasn't dishonorably.
Cocaine use, and he didn't have a job until you became vice president. And once you
None
became
of that
vice president,
true.
he made a fortune in Ukraine, in China, in Moscow,
that is simply
and various
not
other places.
True.
My son,
my son,
and he didn't have a job.
My son, like a lot of people we know at home, had a drug problem. He's overtaken it. He's fixed it. He's worked on it, and I'm proud of him.
But why was he given tens of millions?
All right, he wasn't given tens of millions. That is totally discredited.
We've already been
totally discredited.
We've already been through this. I think the American people would rather hear about more substantial subjects. Well, as the moderator, sir, I'm going to make a judgment call here.
$3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow.
Let's talk about it. True. That report is totally discredited. Mitt Romney on that committee said it wasn't worth taxpayers' money. That report was written for political reasons.
I'd like to talk about climate change.
So would I.
Okay. The forest fires in the West are raging now. They have burned millions of acres. They have displaced hundreds of thousands of people. When state officials there blame the fires on climate change, Mr. President, you said, I don't think the science knows. Over your 4 years, you have pulled the U.S. out of the Paris Climate Accord. You have rolled back a number of Obama environmental records. What do you believe about the science of climate change, and what will you do in the next 4 years to confront it?
I want crystal clean water and air. I want beautiful clean air. We have now the lowest carbon. If you look at our numbers right now, we are doing phenomenally. But I haven't destroyed our businesses. Our businesses aren't put out of commission. If you look at the Paris Accord, it was a disaster from our standpoint. And people are actually very happy about what's going on because our businesses are doing well. As far as the fires are concerned, you need forest management in addition to everything else. The forest floors are loaded up with trees, dead trees that are years old, and they're like tinder, and leaves and everything else. You drop a cigarette in there, the whole forest burns down. You've got to have forest management.
What do you believe about the science of climate change?
I believe that we have to do everything we can to have immaculate air, immaculate water, and do whatever else we can that's good. We're planting 1 billion trees, the Billion Tree Project, and it's very exciting.
You believe that human pollution, greenhouse gas emissions contributes to the global warming of this planet?
A lot of things do, but I think to an extent, yes. But I also think we have to do better management of our forests. Every year, I get the call, California's burning. If that was clean, if you had forest management, good forest management, you wouldn't be getting those calls. In Europe, they live their forest cities. They're called forest cities. They maintain their forests. They manage their forests. I was with the head of a major country. It's a forest city. He said, sir, we have trees that are far more, they ignite much easier than California. There shouldn't be that problem. I spoke with the governor about it. I'm getting along very well with the governor. But I said, at some point, you can't every year have hundreds of thousands of acres of land just burned to the ground. That's burning down because of a lack of management.
Sir, if you believe in the science of climate change, why have you rolled back the Obama Clean Power Plan, which limited carbon emissions in power plants? Why have you relaxed?
Because it was driving energy prices through the sky.
Why have you relaxed fuel economy standards that are going to create more pollution from cars.
Well,
and
not
trucks.
really, because what's happening is the car is much less expensive and it's a much safer car. And you're talking about a tiny difference. And then what would happen, because of the cost of the car, you would have at least double and triple the number of cars purchased. We have the old slugs out there that are 10, 12 years old. If you did that, the car would be safer. It would be much cheaper by $3,500.
In the case of California, they simply
no, but you
ignored
would take a lot of cars off the market because people would be able to afford a car. Now, so, and by the way, we're going to see how that turns out. But a lot of people agree with me, many people. The car has gotten so expensive because they have computers all over the place for an extra little bit of gasoline. And I'm okay with electric cars too. I think I'm all for electric cars. I've given big incentives for electric cars. But what they've done in California is just crazy.
Vice President Biden, I'd like you to respond to the president's climate change record, but I also want to ask you about a concern. You proposed $2 trillion in green jobs. You talk about new limits, not abolishing, but new limits on fracking, ending the use of fossil fuels to generate electricity by 2035, and zero net emission of greenhouse gases by 2050. The president says a lot of these things would tank the economy and cost millions of jobs.
He's absolutely wrong, number one. Number two, if in fact, during our administration, the Recovery Act, I was in charge, able to bring down the cost of renewable energy to cheaper than or as cheap as coal and gas and oil. Nobody's going to build another coal-fired plant in America. No one's going to build another oil-fired plant in America. They're going to move to renewable energy, number one. Number two, we're going to make sure that we are able to take the federal fleet and turn it into a fleet that's run on their electric vehicles. Making sure that we can do that, we're going to put 500,000 charging stations and all of the highways that we're going to be building in the future. We're going to build an economy that, in fact, is going to provide for the ability us to take 4 million buildings and make sure that they, in fact, are weatherized in a way that, in fact, they'll emit significantly less gas and oil because the heat will not be going out. There's so many things that we can do now to create thousands and thousands of jobs. We can get to net zero in terms of energy production by 2035. Not only not costing people jobs, creating millions of good paying jobs, not $15 an hour, but prevailing wage, by having a new infrastructure that in fact is green. And the first thing I will do, I will rejoin the Paris Accord. I will join the Paris Accord because with us out of it, look what's happening. It's all falling apart. And talk about someone who has no relationship with foreign policy. Brazil, the rainforests of Brazil are being torn down, are being ripped down. More carbon is absorbed in that rainforest than every bit of carbon that's emitted in the United States. Instead of doing something about that, I would be gathering up and making sure we had the countries of the world coming up with $20 billion, saying, here's $20 billion, stop tearing down the forest. And if you don't, then you're going to have significant economic consequences.
What about the argument that President Trump basically says that you have to balance environmental interests and economic interests, and he's drawn his line?
Well, he hadn't drawn a line. He still, for example, make sure that he wants to make sure that methane's not a problem. You can now emit more methane without it being a problem. Methane. This is a guy who says that you don't have to have mileage standards for automobiles that exist now. This is the guy who says that, well, the fact that it's all true. And here's
He's talking about the Green New Deal, and it's not $2 billion or $20 billion, as you said. It's $100 trillion.
I'm talking about
where they want to rip down buildings and rebuild the building.
No,
it's the dumbest, most ridiculous. Where airplanes are out of business, where two-car systems are out, where they want to take out the cows too. That's not true either, right? This is a $100 trillion. That's more money than our country could make in 100 years if we're
not
going
the case.
All right, let me because I actually wait a minute, sir. I actually have studied your plan, and it includes upgrading 4 million buildings, weatherizing 2 million homes over 4 years, building 1.5 million energy efficient homes. So the question becomes, the president is saying, I think some people who support the president would say that sounds like it's going to cost a lot of money and hurt the economy.
What it's going to do is going to create thousands and millions of jobs, good paying jobs.
Right, let him finish, sir.
He doesn't know how to do that. The fact is, it's going to create millions of good paying jobs, and these tax incentives to people for people to weatherize, which he wants to get rid of. It's going to make the economy much safer. Look how much we're paying now to deal with the hurricanes. To deal with, by the way, he has an answer for hurricanes. He said maybe we should drop a nuclear weapon on them.
I never said that.
That's what he did say.
You made it up.
And here's the deal:
You make up.
we are going to be in a position where we can create hard, good jobs by making sure the environment is clean and we all are in better shape. We spend billions of dollars now, on floods, hurricanes, rising seas. We're in real trouble. Look what's happened just in the Midwest with these storms that come through and wipe out entire sections and counties in Iowa. That didn't happen before. They're because of global warming. We make up 15% of the world's problem. We, in fact, but the rest of the world, we've got to get them to come along. That's why we have to get back into the Paris Accord.
All right, gentlemen.
Wait a minute, Chris. So why didn't he do it for 47 years? You were vice president. Why didn't you get the world? China sends up real dirt into the air. Russia does. India does. They all do. We're supposed to be good. And by the way, he made a couple of statements. The Green New Deal is $100 trillion.
That is not my plan.
That's
the Green
well,
New
you want to
Deal
rebuild every
is not
building.
my plan.
I want to rebuild every
Gentlemen,
He made a statement about the military. He said I said something about the military. He and his friends made it up, and then they went with it. I never said it.
Okay,
that is
What he
you're,
did
sir,
is
you're
he
done in
said
this segment.
he called
Mr.
the
Vice-
military
Mr. Vice President,
stupid bastards.
I
And he
did
said
not
it on
say
tape. He said
Mr.
stupid
Please,
bastards. He said
sir,
it.
stop.
I would never
I
say
would
that.
play it.
Go ahead.
You're
Mr.
on
Vice
tape.
President answered his final question.
The final question is, I can't remember which of all was ranting.
I'm having a little trouble myself, but and about the economy and about this question of what it's going to cost.
The economy.
I mean, the Green New Deal and the idea of what your environmental
Green New
changes
Deal.
will do.
The Green New Deal will pay for itself as we move forward. You're not going to build plants that, in fact, are great polluting plants.
So do you
You're going to
support
build
the Green New Deal?
Pardon me?
You support
No, I don't support the Green New
You
Deal.
don't. Oh, well, that's a
Do
big
that.
statement.
I
That
support
means you
the
just asked the radical left.
I
Done.
support
Oh, you
the
don't.
Biden plan that I put forward.
Okay.
The Biden plan, which is different than what he calls the radical Green New Deal.
All right, gentlemen, final segment, election integrity. As we meet tonight, millions of Americans are receiving mail-in ballots or going to vote early. How confident should we be that this will be a fair election? And what are you prepared to do over the next 5+ weeks? Because it'll not only be to election day, but also counting some ballots, mail-in ballots after election day. What are you prepared to do to reassure the American people that the next president will be the legitimate winner of this election? In this final segment, Mr. Vice President, you go first.
Prepared to let people vote. They should go to iwillvote.com. Decide how they're going to vote, when they're going to vote, and what means by which they're going to vote. His own Homeland Security Director, and as well as the FBI Director, says there is no evidence at all that mail-in ballots are a source of being manipulated and cheating. They said that. The fact is that there are going to be millions of people because of COVID that are going to be voting by mail-in ballots, like he does, by the way. He sits behind the Resolute desk and sends his ballot to Florida, number one. Number two, we're going to make sure that those people who want to vote in person are able to vote because enough poll watchers are there to make sure they can socially distance. The polls are open on time, and the polls stay open until the votes are counted. And this is all about trying to dissuade people from voting because he's trying to scare people into thinking that it's not going to be legitimate. Show up and vote. You will determine the outcome of this election. Vote, vote, vote. If you're able to vote early in your state, vote early. If you're able to vote in person, vote in person. Vote whatever way is the best way for you, because he cannot stop you from being able to determine the outcome of this election. And in terms of whether or not when the votes are counted, and they're all counted, that will be accepted. If I win, that will be accepted. If I lose, that'll be accepted. But by the way, if in fact he says he's not sure what he's going to accept, well, let me tell you something. It doesn't matter. Because if we get the votes, it's going to be all over. He's going to go. He can't stay in power. It won't happen. It won't happen. So vote. Just make sure you understand you have it in your control to determine what this country is going to look like the next 4 years. Is it going to change? Or you get 4 more years of these lies.
Mr. President, 2 minutes.
So when I listened to Joe talking about a transition, there's been no transition from when I won. I won that election. And if you look at crooked Hillary Clinton, if you look at all of the different people, there was no transition because they came after me trying to do a coup. They came after me spying on my campaign. They started from the day I won and even before I won, from the day I came down the escalator with our first lady. They were a disaster. They were a disgrace to our country. And we've caught them. We've caught them all. We've got it all on tape. We've caught them all. And by the way, you gave the idea for the Logan Act against General Flynn. You better take a look at that because we caught you in a sense. And President Obama was sitting in the office. He knew about it too. So don't tell me about a free transition. As far as the ballots are concerned, it's a disaster. A solicited ballot, okay, solicited is okay. You're soliciting, you're asking, they send it back, you send it back. I did that. If you have an unsolicited, they're sending millions of ballots all over the country. There's fraud. They found them in creeks. They found some with the name Trump, just happened to have the name Trump just the other day in a waste paper basket. They're being sent all over the place. They sent 2 in a Democrat area. They sent out 1,000 ballots. Everybody got 2 ballots. This is going to be a fraud like you've never seen. The other thing, it's nice on November 3rd, you're watching and you see who won the election. And I think we're going to do well because people are really happy with the job we've done. But you know what? We won't know. We might not know for months because these ballots are going to be all over. Take a look at what happened in Manhattan. Take a look at what happened in New Jersey. Take a look at what happened in Virginia and other places. They're not losing 2%, 1%, which, by the way, is too much. An election could be won or lost for that. They're losing 30 and 40%. It's a fraud, and it's a shame. And can you imagine where they say you have to have your ballot in by November 10th? November 10th. That means that's 7 days after the election, in theory, should have been announced.
Okay.
We have major states with that,
sir,
all run by
2
Democrats.
minutes is 2 minutes.
All run by
You're-
Democrats. It's
President
a,
Trump,
it's a rigged election.
you're going to be able to continue. You have been charging for months that mail-in balloting is going to be a disaster. You say it's rigged, that it's going to lead to fraud. But in 2018, in the last midterm election, 31 million people voted mail-in voting. That was a quarter, more than a quarter of all the voters that year cast their ballots by mail. Now that millions of mail-in ballots have gone out, what are you going to do about it? And are you counting on the Supreme Court, including a Justice Barrett, to settle any dispute?
Yeah, I think I'm counting on them to look at the ballots, definitely. I don't think, I hope we don't need them in terms of the election itself. But for the ballots, I think so. Because what's happening is incredible. I read today, where at least 1% of the ballots for 2016 were invalidated. They take them, we don't like them, we don't like them.
But what
They
are you
throw
going to
them
do
out
about it?
left
There
and
are
right.
millions of ballots going out
What
right
you
now.
do is you go and vote. You do a solicited ballot,
No,
and that's okay, or you go and vote.
I'm asking you about the fact that millions of people.
You go and vote. You go and
No,
vote,
but what
like
I'm saying is, what are
like
you
they
gonna do
used
about
to
the
in
fact
the
that
old.
millions of people.
You either do, Chris, a solicited ballot where you're sending it in, they're sending it back, and you're sending. They have mailmen with lots of it. Did you see what's going on? Take a look at West Virginia. Mailmen selling the ballots. They're being sold. They're being dumped in rivers. This is a horrible thing for our country. This is not going to end well.
Okay.
This is not going
Vice
to
President
end
Biden.
well.
5 states
In fact,
had
go ahead,
mail-in ballots for the last decade or more. 5, including 2 Republican states. And you don't have to solicit the ballot. It's sent to you. It's sent to your home. What they're saying is that it has to be a postmark by election day. If it doesn't get in till the 7th, 8th, 9th, it still should be counted. He's just afraid of counting the votes. Because
You're wrong. You're wrong.
I want to continue with you on this. Vice President Biden.
Chris, he's so wrong when he makes a statement like that.
Excuse me. Vice President Biden, the biggest problem, in fact, over the years with mail-in voting has not been fraud historically. It has been that sizable numbers, sometimes hundreds of thousands of ballots are thrown out because they have not been properly filled out, or there is some other irregularity, or they missed the deadline. So the question I have is, are you concerned that the Supreme Court with a Justice Barrett will settle any dispute?
I'm concerned that any court will settle this because here's the deal. When you get a ballot and you fill it out, you're supposed to have an affidavit. If you didn't know, you have someone say that this is me. You should be able to, if in fact you can verify that's you before the ballot is thrown out, that's sufficient to be able to count the ballot because someone made a mistake and not dotting the correct I. Who they voted for, testify, say who they voted for, say it's you. That is totally legitimate.
All right.
Excuse me, when you have 80 million ballots,
I have a final
Senate
question.
and swamping the system, you know it can't be done. You know it can't, and already
all
there's
right.
been
So now,
fraud.
Mail service delivers
gentlemen, in the final question is,
million
in 8
ballots.
states, we can keep talking. In 8 states, election workers are prohibited currently by law, 8 states, from even beginning to process ballots, even take them out of the envelopes and flatten them until election day. That means that it's likely, because there's going to be a huge increase in mail-in balloting, that we are not going to know on election night who the winner is, that it could be days, it could be weeks,
Could be months.
until we find out who the new president is. So first for you, sir, finally for the vice president, I hope neither of you will interrupt the other. Will you urge your supporters to stay calm during this extended period, not to engage in any civil unrest? And will you pledge tonight that you will not declare victory until the election has been independently certified? President Trump, you
I'm
go
urging
first.
my supporters to go into the polls and watch very carefully, because that's what has to happen. I am urging them to do it. As you know, today there was a big problem. In Philadelphia, they went in to watch. They're called poll watchers, a very safe, very nice thing. They were thrown out. They weren't allowed to watch. You know why? Because bad things happen in Philadelphia, bad things. And I am urging my people. I hope it's going to be a fair election. If it's a fair election, I am 100% on board. But if I see tens of thousands of ballots being manipulated, I can't go along with that. And I'll tell you what,
does that
from
mean,
a common sense,
does that mean
I'll
you're going
tell
to
you
tell
what
your
it means.
people to take to the
It means you
street?
have a fraudulent election. You're
And what
sending
are you
out
gonna do?
80
And
million
what would you
ballots.
do
They're
about that?
not equipped to. These people aren't equipped to handle it. Number one. Number two, they cheat. They cheat. Hey, they found ballots in a waste paper basket 3 days ago, and they all had the name military ballots. They were military. They all had the name Trump on them.
Vice President
You think
Biden,
that's good?
Vice President Biden, final question for you. Will you urge your supporters to stay calm while the vote is counted, and will you pledge not to declare victory until the election is independently certified?
Yes. Here's the deal. We count the ballots, as you pointed out. Some of these ballots in some states can't even be opened until election day. And if there's thousands of ballots, it's going to take time to do it. And by the way, our military, they've been voting by ballots since at the end of the Civil War, in effect. And that's what's going to happen. Why was it not? Why is it for them somehow not fraudulent? It's the same process. It's honest. No one has established at all that there is fraud related to mail-in ballots. That somehow it's a fraudulent process.
It's already been established. Take a look at Carolyn Maloney's race.
I asked you had an opportunity
Look
to
at
respond.
Carolyn Maloney.
Go ahead.
They have no idea what
Vice
happened.
President Biden, go ahead.
He has no idea what he's talking about. Here's the deal. The fact is, I will accept it, and he will too. You know why? Because once the winner is declared, after all the ballots are counted, all the votes are counted, that'll be the end of it. That'll be the end of it. And if it's me, in fact, fine. If it's not me, I'll support the outcome. And I'll be a president, not just for the Democrats. I'll be a president for Democrats and Republicans. And this guy,
I want to see an honest ballot count.
Gentlemen, you say that's the end of it? This is the end of this debate?
Honest ballot count.
We're
And I
going to
think
leave
he
it
does
there.
too.
To be continued as in more debates as we go on. President Trump, Vice President Biden, it's been an interesting hour and a half. I want to thank you both for participating in the first of 3 debates that you have agreed to engage in. We want to thank Case Western Reserve University and the Cleveland Clinic for hosting this event. The next debate, sponsored by the Commission on Presidential Debates, will be 1 week from tomorrow, October 7th, at the University of Utah in Salt Lake City. The 2 vice presidential nominees, Vice President Mike Pence and Senator Kamala Harris, will debate at 9 p.m. Eastern that night. We hope you watch. Until then, thank you and good night. Thank you.
Well, that was something. Holy mackerel.
Or don't forget your Easter seals. What the?
I don't know, man.
Lordy.
Wow.
You know, I think, I get messed up because I think they manipulate stuff. I think, they gave Biden a lot of time to talk. And it seems like whenever Trump didn't get much time, if had any, to rebuke any of this stuff. It seemed like Trump was against Wallace and Biden.
Yep. Well, he did say to Wallace, he says, well, it looks like I'm debating you, not him.
Yeah.
And that's the impression I was getting.
Yeah.
It was like, Wallace, ask a damn question and you shut the hell up.
Right.
Because your opinion and you dragging more up is not your role. That was starting to piss me off. And then Trump said, yeah, I'm debating you, not him.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that was and they got this camera on Biden where Biden gets to look right at the camera and he gets to do this. And they did whatever they were doing with Trump. They didn't put it so they were manipulating people, making people think that Biden was talking directly to them. And they did that I can almost guarantee you they did that on purpose in order to focus that way.
Yeah. I wonder what it would look like if they came up with structured questions and then they issued the questions to each party, and those parties then responded in written form and told them you can have up to 2,000 characters or something, for your answer. And then had two independents up there on the stage. Chris reads off the question, the independents read off the written response from the two parties. Because a piece of paper can't argue with the other one.
Right. But that is what a debate is, though.
Well, that's it. But
a debate is
debates are turning back and forth. The debate that like this one and last elections was the same with Hillary. They're turning into unruly kindergartners during show and tell. I mean,
I'm telling you, put them in a glass box, have the microphone where you can turn it on and off, give them each their say, and then if they want to debate, open up both microphones and let them debate. But when they're answering the questions, shut the other one off.
Yeah, I was wondering why they didn't do that.
And they don't.
Plain and simple.
I did notice an awful lot where Joe would go on for a long period of time, and then Trump would, and with what Joe was saying, needed to be fact checked because he's saying Trump did, Trump said. Well, the only one that can respond to that is Trump on that stage. The minute Trump tried to respond, Chris would say, no, we're done. We're over. That's done. Well, wait a minute. There has to be an allowance for rebuttal. If he had it structured properly, he'd ask a question, the other party would respond. Then the first party that made their statement would have a rebuttal chance, and then the other party, just like in a courtroom. One side says it, the other side argues it against it. The side that said it gets to rebut what the other side said, and then the other side gets to rebut that, and then you're done.
Then you're done.
Yeah, you each get to answer the question, and you each get to rebut the other statements. But I didn't see none of that crap even coming close to happening.
Well, maybe I don't know. Is Chris Wallace doing all of these, or got someone else doing the other one?
I haven't heard.
I don't have a clue.
Yeah, I don't know. That was. I don't know.
I'd be
Actually, I think
I'd love to be the
be honest
moderator.
with you. I think Biden did a lot better than I thought he was going to do. I really thought that Trump was going to mop the floor up with Biden, and Biden held his own. And Biden only when it came down to his son there at the end, the one that served honorably, not the cokehead, but the one that served honorably. And he had that planned because he had it all written down. He would turn to Trump at that point because he was staring at the camera the other time. He would turn to Trump at that point and show emotion and show show the American people that he is a fighter.
Well, and that's and I felt Trump did the right thing. And letter H, son. Yeah. Dishonorable discharge for cocaine use. Spit it out. Get all the truth, nothing but the truth out there. And it's like, stream fire and dice. It's like I said, my son, son of a bitch. It's you can my son, all you want. And the thing is Joe's arguing Hunter has nothing to do with me and my presidency. The problem is yes, he does, because Joe is implicated because of the things that Hunter acquired during Joe's vice presidency.
Well, Hunter went over in Air Force 2 with Biden, and 3 days later got that contract. Tell me that's not fucked up.
And tell me, even if Biden was dumb then as he is now, didn't even know, he's still implicated in it because his stupidity is not an excuse.
He took him over there. He took him over there in Air Force 2. So he went over there to do business for his son. Well, however that all worked out, the only reason for his son to be on that plane was to go over there and conduct business. His dad knew it. He knew it. If he wants to do the whole plausible deniability thing, he knew why he was taking them over there. If he wants to ignore how everything happened, that's fine. Again,
the final deal. If he wants to say, I didn't know what the final deal was, but don't lie to us about taking him over there.
Yeah.
Don't tell me he said, Dad, I want you to fly me over there because I'm going to spend a week on the beach.
Yeah.
Bullshit. Come on. We know better than that. We're grown up here. We know better.
His company got that because his dad was the vice president of America.
Right.
And it was gonna benefit them in one way, shape, or form or another, else they wouldn't have done it.
Right.
Well, I thought it was funny how he said, "Oh, my son had conquered his addictions." It's like, I'm in a program. You never get over your addictions. Once a drug addict, always a drug addict.
What's up, Taylor? How you doing, man?
Once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. It's
the rest of your life.
It's just a dry. It's a dry addict.
You're just managing it the rest of your life. I wished I could have ran out on that stage and said, "Everybody, shut up a minute, Joe. Trump going golfing. Oh yeah, I'm sure it costs the taxpayer some money because he's got to get there. He's got to have security. There's costs related. All this crap about his security. They're all getting drunk and having hookers and everything every night in the hotel. Shut up, But I want to tell Joe, I want to really thank you because if you stay in the basement, you save us so damn much money because the security they don't have to travel. They get to sit right out front of your frickin' house. They rent them an apartment to live in while they're watching your ass because on his governmental retirement that he receives the rest of his life, the monthly cumulative cost, I was trying to figure it out here on my notepad and I said, shit on it. It works out to close to $400,000 a year, what we pay in his retirement. And that doesn't count the 100% health benefits he gets.
Right.
So I tell you what, the 100% health benefits and him spouting off about Obamacare, he can kiss this old man's hairy ass. He ain't got a frickin' thing in the world to worry about as far as medical costs are concerned. And he's going to preach to us and tell us, I know what it's like to walk the streets of Scranton. Come here and walk the streets of Ashland. Let me catch your ass. I'll get you some of that insurance to use. I guarantee you.
That's what all these politicians don't realize. They say, we're going to do this for the, you know what? You've got health care insurance, the best health care insurance that you can have. So no matter what you do, or you think you're going to do for us or whatever. I remember my son when this Obamacare shit came out. He was hardly had a job, but he had a job, and he got fined at the end of the year when he filed his taxes for not having health care because he didn't pay into a health care. He got fined for not having health care. That's bullshit.
Well,
I don't have health care.
I
don't have the means to pay for health care.
My employer was picking up my health care, and my son, for 2 years in a row, he had to pay the fine because under the exchange, the fine was about 10% of what it would have cost him just for the insurance.
Right.
So he said, I'll take the 10% and I'll self-pay as I get hurt or sick or whatever.
Right.
Because it's cheaper. And that's
yeah. Well, you can go to places that has discount according to
right.
what
and,
your
and
need
in his case, he was like at that level where he wouldn't get much of a discount at the discounted clinics and that, but he had a nasty wisdom tooth that had to be pulled. No ifs or buts about it. And him and I were calling all over the place. I found a dentist that he said that his policy is 50% of his clientele are going to be people that can't afford to go to the dentist, period. They have no insurance. They're working, but they're not making over a certain amount a year. He pulled my kid's wisdom tooth for $35. And it included a follow-up visit 4 days later. I told my kid, I said, God almighty, now I wish I had my own teeth. I could afford to go to the damn dentist.
Yeah.
But they're out there. But why should a person have to? That proves two things. It proves that insurance sucks. It also proves that those costs don't have to be that high. That's the clinic I go to. They said, oh, yeah, no, we've got plenty of money in reserve. This clinic will always stay in operation. But yet 80% of their clientele is on a sliding scale and paying very reduced fees. And the clinic's making it just fine, covering all their overhead and everything. And so, yeah, the costs of pharmaceuticals and healthcare are based on what will an insurance company pay. That's where those base costs are determined.
Yeah, I don't know how this debate's going to wind up for him because, again, Obama was saying a couple of the things he was saying goes against the radical left, and he does have a lot of the radical left that were Bernie supporters supporting him. So, I think right now, like even Biden talked about law and order. Now, he wouldn't talk about law and order a month ago. They were ignoring all of this violence in the street. Oh, that's not happening. Oh, that's just the right making it up. That's not happening. It's very small amount. It's little sections here and there. They were and they weren't talking law and order. Now that sounds good for Trump, and Trump's been doing it. Now he's talking law and order. Now he's talking things that he wasn't talking about before. That are things that or Trump's been talking about the whole time. What's up, Dennis? How you doing, man?
It was a good stream today, Dennis.
I got a feeling he's going to sit here and Biden's going to sit here and tell the people, American people, anything they want to hear, anything that is feeding their ear and making them. And then when he gets that, him, Pelosi, Schumer, they're going to go in there. They're going to, and Biden, but the Bernie, they're going to get in there and collectively they're going to do what they want to do.
Oh, yeah.
And they're going to say it's the will of the people.
You know, and
He's
that's
talking
the
about
thing is they'll get Biden in, and it will not be Biden's presidency. It'll be the top 8, the gang of 8, you know.
Yep.
Be their presidency. But he gets to spend 4 years of his retirement plush and flush, living in the White House. Him and the wifey can just kick back for 4 years and take it easy and just let it slide.
The guy hasn't even been able to go out and campaign this month. He's
no.
what, 9 or 10 lids this month where
Yep.
he in the morning decided he's not going to campaign that day.
Yep.
I mean, the guy, you know, I mean, he looked okay today. He looked healthy today. You know, he stuttered and stammered a little today, but yeah, it's like his son was saying. I was watching something this morning. The job of the presidency is 24/7. You don't get to take a day off and say, you know what, I'm going to stay in bed or I'm going to hang around and watch a football game and not. No, it's a job 24/7 for that entire time. You know?
Well, that's it. Is they whine about Trump going and playing golf on the weekend. Okay, you think he quits being the president out on the 9th hole? No. Every hole, he's still the president. He's got staff around him constant. The slightest little thing happens in the structure of things, and they're right on them, and they're like, "Sorry, Donald, but this is the last. Play this one, and then you're going through all the way to the 18th because we got to get you the hell out of here. You know, you're going right back on the plane and going back to work." He don't. It's a 24/7 job.
It is.
And
what's up, Sam? How are you doing, girl?
Hey, Sam.
No,
yeah, his VP pick. Phil, you're right.
How much further left can you be? Kamala Harris? I mean, the left thought that she was too far left. When she was running for the nomination, she didn't even make it to the middle of December before she dropped out because she only had 2%. 2% of the Democratic, not 2% of the country, 2% of the Democratic support, less than 10% support in her own state of California. Her own state of California didn't like her.
They had already freshly said, we don't like her. We don't want her.
Yeah.
And they pick her as the VP. You know,
tell me what the hell do you think?
And I think you were right, Phil. A few of his comments tonight, he alienated a big chunk of the left, the far left, that they're like, oh no, we can't know. I can't support his, but and you know what they do? There are no votes. They just don't vote.
No, yeah.
They just don't show up, man. He pissed me off, and I can't vote for Trump. I ain't voting. Yeah, killed her for president. There you go. Yeah, seen that early in the chat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go for it. Stay 2.0 for president.
Yeah, stay 2.0.
I do worry about the mail-in ballots. I worry. I think how mail-in ballots should be done one way and one way only. You request a ballot, you receive the ballot that you request, you fill it out, you mail it back. No one should get a ballot come to their house with their name on it or with no name on it, occupant, for someone to fucking fill out.
Right.
Yeah,
if you don't request a ballot and you don't get a mail-in ballot, you have to take your ass down to the polling place and go vote like a normal human being.
Yeah, there was some sort of weird ballots come in the mail and we threw them away.
I mean, who knows what people are getting, What they're talking about? What are they talking about there? 400 or 800,000 or how many ballots have already been mailed out that weren't ballots that were requested? That's what Trump has all been out of shape. And notice Biden didn't even care. Biden didn't even care that how big of an idiot are you to think that if ballots are just sent out randomly to people that didn't request ballots, that those wouldn't be hey, you know what? I got, technically got 5 people living in my house, right? If I get 5 ballots here, I could just take into my room. I could fill one out for my son. I could fill one out for my daughter. I could fill one out for my other. I mean, really? I mean, so you're an idiot. He thought, Biden was like, he's good with this. He's good with it. I see, this is what bugged me. He's good with it because I think they know they figured it out. I think there's been some election fraud on other fronts, and they think they've got it figured out. They had it figured out with Hillary. Hillary won the popular vote.
Yep.
They had it figured out with Hillary. They won the popular vote. They had millions more votes than Trump had. Trump won because of the Electoral College. They're going to try to do it again. They think they've got it perfected where they screwed up 4 years ago and Trump got in. They think they perfected it, and they're working on the thing. I guarantee you that they are working on that. And COVID is perfect for them because now it's not just, people doing mail-in ballots like they did 4 years ago. Now you've got hundreds of thousands, millions of people more that are going to do a mail-in ballot because of COVID, or of course because they mailed out millions of ballots just to homes that didn't request ballots.
Yeah.
I think the best thing that could happen is those that are going to vote for Trump, they show up at the polls, cast their vote. Those votes are easily counted. Those are usually counted within several hours after they close the polls. If enough Trump voters hit the polls so that those are the first counts, and those counts are high enough to be able to call it. I mean, it can get to that point where you can look historically at the highest level of voting in a presidential election and say, hey, he's got 65% of the total potential
right
votes. It's a win.
Right.
We don't even need to count the paper ballots anymore because it's already beat that election. And
so even if the rest of the ballots are all Biden, he still couldn't win that.
Yeah, still couldn't lose. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah,
so that's why I tell everybody, you don't need to tell anybody else, but shag your lazy ass out of the house for an hour and go vote.
Yep. Or 2 hours, whatever it takes.
Whatever
it takes to get your vote in. Now, see, my place where we vote here in Michigan, it's electronic. So you go to this thing, you fill this whole thing out. Your ballot goes into an envelope. You go over to this machine, you tuck it into the machine, it pulls your ballot out, it counts it electronically, and you go out. So there's no hanging chads. There's no, it's automatically just counted in this machine. And I don't know how it's all downloaded, but I think it's a pretty ethical thing. You're not going to find a ballot. All these ballots go into this machine, but I think they're all counted as they go in the machine because the way you highlight them, and then they probably have to have someone verify them. I would guess that's why they keep them. I don't know what they do with all those ballots once they're up in that machine. No, hold on. It goes in, goes out. I'm trying to think. No, it goes in and stays in the machine, doesn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like an ATM machine.
Yeah.
You put money in, it don't come back out. But then they will go through a lot of polling places. It depends on the state and their polling regulations. A lot of them, then they come from the machine, and they'll go through and they'll do a second check on those polls, on those ballots. But you talk about manipulation of the vote, the possibilities of fraud, and manipulation is an issue too. Because here, where I live, just right across the street from me, about a half a block away, it's a senior center, a big senior center. They do all kinds of stuff over there for folks that are 50 or older. Yeah. I refused to go to the place, and I'm not walking in that place except elections until I'm 65 because that's elderly to me.
I so wanted the holder and I downloaded these great things. I downloaded these great things for the election night tonight. I downloaded this burn. I downloaded Dancing Trump.
Yeah.
And when they said something I didn't like, I wanted to boo them. And I wanted to laugh at their stupid stuff.
That's,
And when they said something good, I wanted to applaud.
yeah.
I worked so hard on that. It bummed me out that I can't be on the screen. You know, wait, I had to have a full screen and couldn't do any of that stuff. So
that's
and then this too. Real
Biden's
quick.
plan is not a solution. It is a virtual surrender. Biden's plan for the China virus is to shut down the entire U.S. economy.
I would shut it down. No miracle is coming. If I were president today, I would roll back the reopenings in a number of places.
Biden wants to surrender our country to the virus. He wants to surrender our families to the violent left-wing mob. And he wants to surrender our jobs to China.
I would shut it down.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
I'm stealing commercials now.
What I would have liked to have heard was the question that Biden, you and your green plan, being you swear up and down it's not the Green Deal, his green plan and everything he was listing off, and he says, and it's going to create hundreds of thousands of new jobs and all this great money and on and on. All right. Who's going to hire these people, and how are they able to hire these people? They have to have contracts,
right,
that are producing money, fuel for the engine to be able to hire all these people. Where are those contracts coming from? They're coming from that deal, which means they're coming out of the government, which means it's coming out of the taxpayer's pocket for a bunch of green jobs. And then the green energy that they're talking about developing is so expensive that everybody's going to see their energy rates go right through the roof.
Well, okay, they talk about
all your utility rates are going to go insane.
He said something about weatherization. Okay, we have weatherization here in West Virginia.
They've got it in every state I know of.
It doesn't create extra jobs.
No.
They have a handful of people. The people higher up, you know, the administrators and all that, they get paid good money. But the workers, they don't get paid crap. Crap.
And look at their crews. A lot of times, like here in Wisconsin, most of the weatherization program, they think they're doing these guys a favor. They're hiring these small local contractors.
Oh, they don't even hire contractors here.
But they don't pay them Davis-Bacon rates. They don't pay them Davis-Bacon wages. So
they don't go to the trouble.
Under Davis-Bacon, that would be making $18 an hour is getting paid $8.50 an hour.
Right.
Rotten bastards. And they say, well, it's for the benefit of the program because we can weatherize more homes.
And it's government funded, and they spend a hell of a lot more money than they put out.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I was thinking when he's sitting there talking about building these new buildings and stuff. Yeah. Well, the old buildings are going to have to be torn down. I think that's what he's doing, is using the riots to tear down the buildings before he can rebuild.
So that they can take those off the list, right? Yeah.
Right. He don't have to pay them people to burn it down.
That's the whole thing too. Is the whole how the hell why they keep trying to blame one person for all of the woes in our country. I mean, the black community has COVID because of Trump. It's Trump's fault. It's Trump's fault. He's causing all these black deaths. And I tell you what, I have black family members. I have a lot of black friends that would love to show Biden what black.
I keep hearing that too. But I've heard that in the past couple of years that he has granted the black colleges all kinds of federal funding that was never offered to him before.
Well, he's got a new plan for this new thing, like $500 million or something, or $1 billion. I forget what it is that he's got that for businesses, black businesses, for
Exactly.
his new 4 years. So
For black
Mhm.
economic zones, he's pounded
Right.
tons of cash into those black economic zones.
Right. And
And
they don't
the
say
thing
nothing
is,
about that.
he knows that, and sensible people understand. He's thinking with a businessman's frame of mind. The happier your workers are, the better your business is going to do.
That's
And that's
right.
the way he looks at everybody, every citizen. He don't care what
Yeah.
color they are. The
No.
happier I can make everybody, the better our country is going to be, and the better the economy is going to be in. So he's looking at it all from a holistic perspective. And Biden spouting off about Trump being a billionaire and on and on. That little SOB, look at who's supporting these Democrats. It's the billionaires out there. They're pissed because we have one billionaire that refuses to give them his money.
right.
He's saying, I'd rather run for president, let my kids run the companies. And that, I don't think Trump goes there enough anymore either. For the last 4 years, Donald hasn't had a lot of pull in his own companies. His kids got they're the pilots right now.
Well, you know,
And he's given his salary back to the U.S. Treasury, and on several occasions now, he has actually directed his salary to go to a specific,
Yeah.
to fund a specific.
I remember one was to VA.
Something. Yeah. So is Joe Biden willing to give up that annual salary?
No. Oh,
He
yeah.
should, because he's getting his retirement pension.
oh yeah, he's getting all sorts of money.
He
Oh, yeah.
gets,
No
Yeah.
one will do it. No
he's
one
got
will
a
do it. And it's a pittance and compared to what he's already made as a
Right.
career politician, and what he'll make while he's a president in other aspects, and what he'll
Right.
make after he's
Right.
president.
Right.
You know,
right. Just give up that annual salary and let it go to a better cause. I
And
mean,
you know what kills me about the $750 in taxes that Trump did or didn't pay in those 2 years?
Right.
Keep in mind, what was it? Back when 9/11, that around time frame, when New York begged millionaires, begged companies, billionaires to come to New York, they gave, like he said, historic tax breaks to companies and to millionaires and billionaires to come to New York to make New York great again, right? So this is, they didn't use New York great again thing, but that's exactly what they did. They attracted all these businesses, all these companies. You got the Twin Towers, you got all this hustle and bustle. Man, we have given phenomenal tax breaks. And then, after it's now Democratic run, and he's still taking advantage of, you won't call it taking advantage. No, he's taking advantage of what anybody else was, and only paying the taxes that you're required to pay.
yeah, as long as you're
the taxes that I'm required to pay, he should only pay the taxes. Some years he's got to pay more because he can't use depreciation. Some years he's got to pay less. So if you're going to try to pull 2 years out, they didn't have to pay as much. Then you got to look at the whole thing, and that is the years that he, like you said, he had to pay $38 million 1 year. You need to look at the whole picture. Just because those years he had depreciation and hardly had to pay anything, even though he said he still paid millions. That just kills me.
I'm sure. I don't know that Trump would go along with my idea, but if I was in Trump's shoes, I'd say, I'll tell you guys what, if you don't think I paid enough taxes, you make Al Sharpton pay his $8 million he still frickin' owes, and I'll match it. But you make it come out of Al Sharpton's pocket, that $8 million that son of a bitch been riding on for years, but yet he's given a position in the frickin' White House for 8 years with Obama, but yet he's in default on $8 million in back taxes? No, you make Al Sharpton pay his $8 million. Once I see it hits the Treasury, I'll match it. I'll volunteer $8 million in taxes just to match it. Because it ain't never going to happen. They're never going to make Al Sharpton pay those taxes back. But yet, Wesley Snipes got thrown in prison for the same thing, and he paid them all off a week before they threw him in the tank.
it's racist to try to make that poor black guy pay that $8 million stye. Come on. The poor guy is black. He shouldn't have to pay that $8 million. Come on. He's been through hard times.
But Wesley Snipes had about almost the identical tax bill, and Wesley Snipes wrote a check for the whole amount. And they still sent him to prison. He had to sit out time in prison. He's black. Actually, look at Al and Wesley side by side. Who of those two look blacker? Now I'm wondering why they let Al off.
So let's. I didn't read the thing about 750. That's pretty new, Cindy. So basically, what you're saying is that he paid on that same thing. Right. It says he paid more than 750, but people, like they do with videos, stop at where they want to stop reading and don't read the whole thing. They only read what they want to read, and then they take that, they crumple it up, they stick it in their pocket, and that's what they run around with telling everybody, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I thought you had the right to wait and file your taxes every 5 years if you'd like.
No, you don't. Actually,
on a business,
you can request an extension, but you're not supposed to go more than that following year.
Yeah.
You are required to file within 1 year of the close of that year. However, you are allowed to review and refile up to 5 years back.
Maybe that's what it was.
And the thing is, that's one thing people don't understand. See, that now we're talking. That was my career. That was my field. That area of finance. People don't understand. It was proven way back at his first election in 2006, before 2016, that he is under audit. Not his companies, him personally. He is under audit. Sometimes those audits can take 6 or 8 years to complete. And with somebody with the finances and the reach he had, I can see it taking anywhere from 4 to 8 years for them to complete the audits. Now, they brought into question, when they started that audit in 2015, they brought everything into question going back to 2010 all the way forward now. Every year that he files, he still has to file every year, but every single year he files is still under question until that audit is complete. Then what they do is, at that point, the IRS will say, this is what the numbers are at the end of 2015. And now they have to take everything from 2015 forward, and they have to adjust those numbers all the way out. They don't audit those years. They just adjust the numbers all.
Good night, Saucy Shane.
Good night, Shane.
I had to get him right. I'm sorry.
Yep. Yeah.
I had to give him a little Betty.
And the thing is people don't appreciate either is they're talking about his personal taxes, but they're mixing in his corporate income into his personal income and his personal taxes. A guy like that, they don't become millionaires by taking all their dividends off of their corporations.
Right.
They take it by rolling it back into their corporation to reinvest, because they want to build their net value so that if they ever want to liquidate, they can sell off these corporations and they come out with $1 billion. Now they're going to pay some taxes.
Well, the guy's under a microscope. If he was doing anything crooked,
they'd be on him.
They'd be all over him, right?
Yep.
I mean, other politicians can get away with crooked stuff and they're fine. But he's Donald Trump. He's the president. He's not a politician, right? He was never was a politician. I'm not sure as a president you're even still considered a politician. I don't know if a president is considered a politician. I mean, he's Republican. He was a Republican nominee. Maybe that makes you a politician, but he never was a politician. He never had the
He doesn't have the power to vote. He doesn't have the power to make law. He does not. He now a senator or a House representative, they're politicians because they're the ones that make and pass our laws. They're the ones that define what our politics is, not the president. The president sits there and has to follow their rules. And that's what's pissing off the Dems right now is he's following the constitutional mandates he has, like appointing the Supreme Justice. I love that statement. I mean, that was the best statement the whole night. No, I'm supposed to do this job for 4 years, not 3.
Right.
Not 3.5, not 3 years and 11 months. 4 years. He is the president.
4 years.
He is the president until midnight on November 3rd.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, he still has a job to do.
Until midnight the night before inauguration.
Okay. So see where we go.
Yeah.
So
your presidency doesn't start when you get elected. It starts in January when you were inaugurated.
Because and Biden saying he shouldn't be doing the Supreme Court thing. He's this is an election year. So you're telling me on an election year that the president of the United States that is trying to get reelected should stop being the president because it's an election year and just worry on getting reelected. He shouldn't worry about COVID. Oh no, you should worry about COVID. You're responsible. You should worry about this. You should worry about this, but you shouldn't worry about the Supreme Court nominee. All the other presidential stuff. You're responsible for the economy, the COVID, all that other stuff you're responsible for. But we don't
end up going to war.
Do that. We don't want you to nominate a Supreme Court justice. We don't want you to do that presidential thing. We're going to blame you for the rest of the presidential things, but that presidential thing we don't want you to do.
Yeah. See, and that's where I can't understand people that just can't see that. They can't see how ludicrous that is. To say, oh no, he's president, but he can't do what the Constitution says he's required to do for the last year. Well, so in every 4 years, we only get 3 years of actual work done. In the 4th year, the whole year is lame duck, and that whole, they talk about lame duck decisions. That really applies to the House and Senate, them trying to create and pass new laws in the last year. And I always read that Constitution. They pass a law like when the House of Representatives they fought and wanted to get a raise back in the actually it would have been the Bush years. They were fighting for a raise. They all wanted a raise. And they all lost sight of the Constitution. And all of a sudden, somebody on the opposing side popped up and said, I think we should go ahead and approve these raises because they don't go in effect for 4 years. Because none of us can receive that raise under our current term. Constitution's clear about it. So if they vote for a raise and get voted out, they don't get a raise. If they vote for a raise and they wait out till both terms, because the terms are split every 2 years, we vote for House and Senate. Once those 2 terms have rolled over, the raise goes into effect. And if you're lucky enough to win the vote for another term, you got the raise. Otherwise, no, you didn't get it. You can't get the raise you approve. And I think that needs to be, I think it needs to work that way anytime they want to change any of their rules. Is no, we can change the rules for the future, but we can't change the rules for us.
Right.
I want to make a bill to where I get more money. I want to raise.
Just type up a bill and send it to them.
Yeah.
Send it to Pelosi.
I will.
Tell
I'll
her-
send him. Where in the hell's my check?
Send her a
Get-
for peeing on Trump signs for a week.
Mhm.
$180,000 because I peed 18 signs. Each one's got to be worth, at least $10,000.
Oh.
Yep.
All right, Phil. Where'd you get your chair?
Yeah, Stream Fire and Dice has it down
I
pat.
just saw mine came from my chair. My chair came from Amazon.
Amazon. You just Google gaming chair.
I got my friend over there at Destination Great Lakes a birthday present. Got here from Amazon today. Wasn't supposed to be here until Thursday. Aha. I don't think I'm camping this weekend, guys.
No.
It's supposed to get cold, isn't it?
Drive out there and say howdy, howdy, and hang around their campfire for a little while, then back in the truck and head home. It's supposed to be down in the low 30s each night and never get above 43 during the day, and 60 to 80% rain all 3 days. So
wow.
I'm not
Are we
going.
doing a spicy
It
raid?
doesn't sound like a good time to me. So,
No.
listen, guys, I don't want to go to bed quite yet, but I do want to go over to Monica Tiamone's arts. I did put a link in the bottom. Now we're going to go over there and do something a little different. This is an everything spicy news raid.
Spicy news raid.
Yep. So there you can
Spicy news raid.
spicy news raid or spicy news raid or something like that. So go on over. There, the link is in the chat there. Go over there, click on that. Go over there, doing everything spicy news raid on Monica Tiamone Arts. So I want to thank Killdeer for being here, Granny for being here, Stein North. You know, all you guys that was stayed in the chat the entire time. I hope you're really this involved in politics and this, and it wasn't just to hang out with us, but you're actually into this. I really appreciate y'all being here. It'd been great if we could have shared this out and gotten more folks in here to hang out with us. But the fact that I've got 46 subscribers to this channel, and we maintained right around 15 people the entire time is fantastic. So
Yeah.
I want to thank everyone for being here. Neighbor Girl, Cindy, Mo Homesteading, everyone else. Go over to Samantha. Everyone go over to Monica Tiamone Monica Tiamone Arts. Everything Spicy Raid News. Have a good night. Keep it spicy.
See you there. Bye bye.
Keep it spicy, everybody. Keep it spicy.